Yo, Atlas speaking, and welcome to part 3 of What If I Was Reincarnated into My Hero Academia universe as Denki Kaminari. Let the tale begin.
Chapter 41, Charming Mann.
After the battle, Kaminari started going to school as usual, and also he was sent a flyer to ask if he would join the dorm rooms in the school. He signed to that easily, since there are also no parents that he would need to have signed for him. He didn't face problems like some other people. All Might was in his thin form as he looked at Kaminari's house. Also, another average-looking detective with black hair and eyes was next to him. Neither of them knew that Kaminari had already accepted and signed the letter, so they were here to talk with him. As they knocked on the front door, no one answered, but they went to the backyard as they heard sounds coming from it, and they were surprised by what they saw. Kaminari was there, his body releasing a stream of electricity as iron sand moves around him like a giant wave. Then in the end it surrounds him like a protective cloak. Neither All Might nor the detective could believe that this was the result of an electricity production quirk. It seemed more like a whole different quirk, and it has only been a couple of days since the incident. Yet Kaminari seems to have gotten control of his iron sand manipulation ability. He lessened the consumption of his electricity by a large margin. He only used as much as was needed. Suddenly, Kaminari stops and looks at All Might in his deflated form. "Hey there," says All Might awkwardly, feeling like he saw something he shouldn't. "Denki Kaminari, we are here to dash, okay?" answers Kaminari, interrupting All Might. "I accept joining your boarding school program." Okay." All Might is clearly surprised by this. After that whole thing, Kaminari packs his bags and some boxes that will be transferred later by some personnel, but he was transferred by All Might and the detective in a car. All Might look at Kaminari reading something from his phone, and he decides to ask, "So, your quirk, how is it able to do so many things?" I just do it," says Kaminari, not elaborating at all. He is currently reading a book on how to make programs for himself. He needs a personal supercomputer to do some calculations that the human mind can't do instantly. If he can incorporate this super calculating ability into his fighting style, he will feel pretty safe fighting against almost any villain. After all, him being able to control the electricity outside of his body is truly something that opened countless possibilities for him. Flight, observation, spying, defense, attack, speed, and everything else in between. Almost everything can be achieved with my quirk. Just the ideas I have right now could push me at the level of a nuclear threat if I decided to study on them more. Contemplates Kaminari, and he knows that no one would be able to copy his feats either. Well, unless they were trained from birth at max capacity, learned physics, and had the same quirk as him while having the same thoughts as him, which is pretty much impossible to happen in this world. He wouldn't worry about someone copying him. Just the crazy amount of research and development that he did with his quirk is crazy. Plus, even if they did, he knows his own weaknesses best. This is his understanding of his power evolving. Someone like him would never be satisfied with being number 2, even if Izuku is given the key to be number 1. Kaminari will kick the door open and take the number 1 title. Then when that happens, he can start enjoying life. After all, at the end of the day, his happiness is priority number 1 now. He has been given a second chance at life. He doesn't want to waste it. His strength isn't something inherited like Midoriya, so he will have to give it his all to become someone with a normal quirk who can fight those 2 monsters when they fully master both their powers. When he arrives at the dorm room building, the car drive is silent and is filled with All Might being uncomfortable in front of Kaminari while at the same time try and not spill anything that might give away his real identity. Smart kids are scary. Just the way he looked at me, I could read his suspicions. After Kaminari finally stops messing with All Might to alleviate his boredom, he smiles at the site in front of him. It is quite big, and it will help him have access to big training facilities, bigger than his backyard. He felt lucky that he had a good relationship with his previous neighbors, so they didn't report him to the authorities for irregular quirk usage, and although he would only get a slap on the wrist, he wouldn't like to have that on his record. He needs to build the perfect image of strength and prestige. He will have to inspire hope into others, something that Midoriya can't do at this time. Also, Kaminari doesn't know how long All Might can use his quirk for now, but he knows that he can still use it, which is a better result than he expected. Now problems like Overhaul and many others can easily be solvable by All Might if they get out of hand. All Might will solve them, even if he has to give up his life to do so. This was Kaminari's plan all along. All Might is his fallback in case of failure. Whether that failure happens or not, it doesn't matter. He will still have this fallback plan of his. Also, it seems like he will be the first person here. The school must have determined him the most likely to get attacked by villains. After all, in the eyes of the people, he is the next symbol of peace chosen by All Might. Of course, this was all orchestrated by Kaminari. He needed them to truly become the symbol of peace. But unlike All Might, he doesn't mind killing villains. They are just trash of society at best, and thorns in my side at worst. They must all be eliminated. Contemplates Kaminari, thinking of bringing back the villain execution law once more. That way he can kill the villains that he captures. All for One is captured right now, and that brings him endless discomfort. He should have been executed. The only type of good enemy is a dead one. Thinks Kaminari, the heroes will always be at a disadvantage against the villains, because the heroes will never use lethal force while the villains always will. My vision recently has started getting worse. I can't see things that good when they are further away. Contemplates Kaminari. Due to his excessive reading, he is now in need of glasses. Better get contacts. Kaminari is just walking along the school. There are a bunch of other students around him. But he suddenly stops and looks towards the crowd at a specific, unassuming female student from the general studies. The student looks panicked as Kaminari smiles at her, and then she just gets to the back of the crowd. She was running away without causing a commotion. Toga POV, how? Why did he look at me when I was in disguise? Did he notice me? Internally contemplates Toga as she thinks of what just happened. No way. His quirk is electrification. But he was seen using his quirk in ways that are incomprehensible to the normal person. She then walks into an alley as she gets out of the school grounds. Still, she keeps her disguise on as she has a strange gut feeling. You are quite interesting, says Kaminari as his cold hand grabs Toga from the back of her neck. I feel danger from you. What might that be? Toga's body locks in place. She feels a strange sense of fear settle over her body. But at the same time, a smile appears on her face. She couldn't understand why she felt happy as his grip tightened to a point that it became painful. Senpai, you are being too rough, moans Toga as a blush appears on her face. Since she is still under disguise, she is confident that Kaminari won't attack her without being 100% sure that she is a villain. But even that doesn't matter now since she has already sent a signal to the rest of the villain league. Me being rough? Asks Kaminari. A malicious smirk appears on his face. I know that you went to a sketchy and secluded alley for a reason. Oh, senpai. You are making my heart tingle, says Toga sweetly, but her had a different meaning as Kaminari ran some electricity through her. I know. I have always made certain people feel a certain way. Bzzzt, his electricity starts burning Toga's skin, which causes her to wince as her disguise starts falling off. Come on now, baby. You seemed like you could handle rough. If you make a face like that, you will make me feel guilty, says Kaminari as he raises his voltage. This causes Toga to start tearing up as it starts really hurting her. She starts to scream, but a quick chop to her throat damaged her vocal cords as blood drips down her lip. Now, I want to know what the Villains League is up to, he says cheerfully as he pulls out a notebook. Damn, this guy is no hero. He is more like a villain, thinks Toga as she feels Kaminari taking her hidden knife and cutting her Achilles tendon behind her legs. She immediately falls on her knees at this, no longer having the ability to stand up or run. Now you should start talking, or I will kill your friends too when they come here. He knew, wonders Toga, shocked at how much Kaminari seemed to know. But what she didn't assume was that Kaminari just guessed, and his guess was confirmed by the expression on her face. Chapter 42. Sibling. Tamura could sense a heavy feeling set over his stomach as he and the other Villain League members went towards Toga's location. What is this feeling? He wonders, not understanding the unnecessary panic that he is feeling. It was like performing in front of a crowd for the first time. But as soon as they arrive at the location, They are on top of the roofs when they see Toga covered in blood and laying on the ground, while Kaminari has a knife in his hand as he looks up at them with a smirk on his face. Twice panics and jumps down with an angry shout. "You bastard! Ah, come on now. Aren't you the guys who kill innocent people?" says Kaminari. No need to be so panicked at the sight of blood. He casually dodges one of Twice's punches and kicks the man in the stomach. Bomb. Twice crashes into a wall, causing cracks all around it. He spits out blood and flops down. Twice was knocked out instantly, comments Dabi. Though he was calm on the outside, internally he is contemplating how to get out of this alive. Kaminari killed Muscular, Moonfish, and Crippled Mustard, so he definitely isn't like other heroes. "Boss, we should be careful," says Magna, though all the villain league are here. Every single one of them is on edge because of the sweetly smiling teen in front of them. "Aren't you gonna attack?" asks Kaminari curiously. "Oh well, if you aren't." Bzzzt instantly he appears behind Tamura, and with a quick chop to his neck, the villain's boss is knocked out. Spinner uses his giant hunk of metal swords to attack Kaminari. This was all done in panic as the sword burst, the chapel sinking into Spinner's body. Dabi protects the others by shooting his blue flame at the metal, melting it. He looks at Kaminari and says, "This guy is just trouble." Boom! And immediately after, a burst of blue flames are shot at the student. Behind Kaminari, black wings appear. They are made out of iron sand, and he starts flying, dodging the attack and giving himself more maneuverability. But as the flame clears out, every one of the villain league members is gone. "Heh, well, they are quite skilled," says Kaminari casually. He planned to let them go since the beginning. He had no plans to capture them, at least not yet. Also, he even bloodied up Toga to make them panic. In actuality, he just needs to sense her brain signals to judge if she is lying or not. He didn't need to torture her too much, or at all for that matter. Playing mind games is more efficient. He then dispels his wings and falls on the ground. After that, he walks away with his hands in his pocket. Back at U.A Academy, everyone from Class 1A was together and checking each other's rooms while Kaminari was absent. "So what did you and Kaminari do against the villains after they captured you?" asks Kirishima, and everyone else was curious. "Huh? What are you bastards on about?" "Obviously, we cracked some villain skulls," Bakugo says aggressively. He then looks at Midoriya and points at him. "Unlike you who gets threatened and does nothing. It is different when strong people are captured." Now, no need to turn this into an insult against Midoriya," says Zero, trying to defuse the situation. Momo thinks about something. But Kaminari planned to get captured all along? She then looks at the others and sees them all looking at her in surprise. After all, that isn't exactly public knowledge. I mean nothing, forget I said that." Bakugo folds his arms and leans back on the couch, his mind thinking back on the night that he and Kaminari were captured. That bastard. What is he thinking? Bakugo noticed something that night. Kaminari is planning something big, but he can't see it. The strength that he displayed that night puts him as an obvious candidate for number one. He then looks at his hand and clenches it into a fist. "I need to train harder if I don't want to be left behind." So he gets up. "Where are you going, Kachan?" asks Midoriya, which annoyed Bakugo due to the nickname. Still, he took a breath and calmed down. "I am going to train. I am not a jagoff like you." Everyone was surprised by the calm demeanor Bakugo showed. Usually, he would be mad and rave around, but now he is very casual. This was all due to him seeing Kaminari act calmly even in front of the villains. So he too plans to learn that kind of demeanor, though he will still need to use his anger to his advantage. After all, it helps with his quirk as it makes him sweat more. As Bakugo walks outside, he sees Kaminari walking in. They just walk by each other, without saying anything. But suddenly as they pass each other, Bakugo stops and asks, "Sparky, do you think that there is a way to strengthen my quirk?" Kaminari doesn't stop walking, and instead just smirks. "You are already in the right way. I never said this, but honestly, I am glad that it was you that got kidnapped with me, and not someone else." Bakugo smirks at that. Kaminari was being truthful at this, Even Todoroki would have been troublesome due to Dabi being there. Izuku would have been a big no, and Kirishima is too slow against Tamura and his defense quirk would be useless. So he meant it when he said that Bakugo was the perfect partner in that situation. But Bakugo took this in another way too. He saw it as Kaminari saying that he is stronger than the others. Kaminari didn't bother to clarify the meaning. So there was a misunderstanding born that lit Bakugo's spirit on fire. Now only Kaminari is standing in front of me from being the next #1 hero. After walking off, Kaminari walks towards the common room and sees the others gathered in there. "Yo, what are you guys doing?" asks Kaminari. Immediately Toru turns towards him. Well, the only thing visible is her clothes turning around. "Kaminari, everyone wants to see your room." Kaminari was confused about this for a split second, but then he remembers the thing that would have happened and how everyone should have seen each other's rooms by now. "Well, my room isn't anything special," Kaminari says casually, looking to the side uncomfortably. This makes everyone curious, even Mina, who has been in his room countless times. Internally, Kaminari laughs, but on the outside, he acts even more nervous. Everyone's hopes were dashed a minute later. This is average," says Sato. The room seemed almost boring. It had a bed, desk, computer, and shelf. That was all there was to the room. "You don't even have books in here?" asks Momo. She thought that someone smart like him would have books. "I keep my books digitally. Carrying books around is inefficient when I can just have all the books I want on my phone," answers Kaminari as he pulls out his phone and points at it. "All my books are here." That is when he sees Mina looking under his bed. "Let me see where you have your porn stash hidden." As she is crouched down, he kicks her lightly in her behind. "Kia." This causes her to yelp in surprise. He then pinches her cheeks in annoyance. "I told you not to say something like that. While I don't mind, how will you find a boyfriend if you act like this? You touched me in a private place. Take responsibility," yells Mina, blushing in all shades of pink, while she points at him. "Sigh, I worry about you, Mina. How will you ever find a guy who will be okay with these things?" complains Kaminari. The rest of the class looks at Mina and him acting like this and can't help but think that Mina and Kaminari like a couple of siblings. At this, Mina mumbles, "I have already found a guy who will be okay with this." "Huh? Did you say something?" Kaminari asks, before going back to berating her to act more ladylike. The rest of the class starts feeling like third wheels in this situation. Also, they all had one thought in their minds. Even someone like Kaminari can be dense. He is so dense. Everyone could see what was going on here. Mineta was crying tears of blood as he looked at what seemed to him a harem anime scene. "I hate this bastard," he internally screams. "I am so jealous of him. Don't treat me like a kid," says Mina, annoyed as Kaminari pats her head. There you will be okay." Chapter 43, Genius. Later on in the day, Kaminari is training by himself in the school gym. Night came about, and he is still training, manipulating the iron sand around him with such impeccable control that would make most people think that he has had this ability for years. He then takes a can and holds it in his palm, and starts manipulating the electricity around it, creating a chain reaction that crushes the can, but he is not satisfied with this, and tries to make it into a metal sphere. He succeeds in doing so 20 minutes later, his forehead covered in sweat due to the crazy amount of concentration that took. It could easily crush the can, but he values control more than raw power in this scenario. After all, while his quirk was built to be a raw power type, with the control he has reached new possibilities. He then shoots the ball like a boom. It burns a hole through a hill, but 50 meters later, due to the friction, the ball burns off. Kaminari already has started having some special coins built for him. Coins that don't burn off so easily due to friction. He doesn't mind having the power of science on his side. Even then, this is a clear weakness on Kaminari's part. Many heroes don't use technology to raise their abilities, afraid of becoming dependent on it. Some even look down on people like that. But Kaminari knows that his powers work on science and doesn't have such useless pride. The Nomus are created by science, and those things can beat most of the heroes in the world. Though Kaminari still wants to figure out a way that he can use his to its full potential without relying on these coins. Even with all the power he has obtained, he sees himself as weak. He knows that Aizawa with a gun can kill him in less than 10 seconds. That is the terrifying reality that brings chills down his spine. I need to get stronger, much stronger. But how? I don't know how to remove friction. Even with my quirk experiencing a kind of evolution now that I can control the electricity outside of my body, I'll still have limits. He doesn't like that at all, but that is the daunting reality of the situation. Every quirk has a limit, of course, though some might seem limitless in power. Like All for One can only have as much power as all the quirks in the world if he stole them all. That is the quirk with the widest limit, but for a quirk like that, the user is the only limit. If a quirk like All for One was in my hands, wonders Kaminari, a smirk appearing on his face. But he shakes those thoughts out of his head. It wouldn't be as useful to him even if he could somehow miraculously get it. After all, when someone steals a quirk, he doesn't take just the good things, he takes the bad too. Like a strengthening quirk that requires one to burn their fat. That would be an obvious advantage, but a disadvantage at the same time. Also because of that, All for One will never get too many quirks, because they would destroy him due to their side effects. Youthful men are truly something else. Comes a voice from the entry. Kaminari doesn't need to turn around to know who it is. Midnight, Sensei, sorry. I am gonna be finishing this training soon, says Kaminari, his head all in the game. He doesn't bother with her. Midnight sees this and walks closer to him. She is currently not wearing her hero uniform. Instead, she is in her civilian clothes and wearing glasses. You should enjoy school life more. I see that you have only been training these last months. A hero isn't someone who is only strong. Kaminari stops in the middle of his exercise and looks at Midnight, barely able to hide his contempt. I understand. I will keep that in mind. He then goes back to his training and pulls out another empty can, trying to make a miniature sword out of it just by using his electric control. Midnight frowns at this and comes behind him, and her hands massage his shoulders lightly and seductively. She huffs. Yep, just as expected. You are very tense. Kaminari sighs at the situation, knowing that he won't be able to get out of this easily. In the end, he just leans back and falls on the ground. Midnight's face covers his view of the training ground ceiling. This is so troublesome. Kaminari complains. If you came here to do something with me, then I would be happy. But I don't want to hear just another lecture. I know my body the best. I am not overworking it. Midnight smirks with a seductive look in her eyes. Era, who said I am not here to do something with you? It is so late that no one uses these training grounds. She leans forward and clasps Kaminari's cheek seductively. But unlike what she expected, this makes him chuckle, as if amused by the situation. Your hero reputation really doesn't suit you at all, Kaminari says with a knowing look in his yellow eyes, as if he had seen right through her. This creeps her out a little. As the principal said, Kaminari has a genius level of intelligence. Still, she sits down next to him and looks at the ceiling with him. We heroes aren't working for nothing. We want you to feel no need to stress yourself too much. Kaminari doesn't say anything at that. He honestly would like to relax, but with his knowledge of the future, he can't do that. As soon as I am foolish enough to let my guard down, I will be surpassed and killed by the others. I then will become just one of the nameless losers in this world. My story being nothing special. Midnight takes his silence as progress, and he is contemplating something. But the next thing that he says shocks her. This dorm thing. It isn't just as a way to protect the student, is it? Kaminari asks, already knowing the answer to this. He might have forgotten a lot of what seems unimportant in the manga that he read in his previous life. But he can understand what is going on here. The second time, in the forest, only a small number of people knew where we were going. We have a spy amongst us. So you all also made this dormitory to observe the students. The school suspects that the spy might be one of the students. Midnight was frozen in shock. Kaminari had hit the nail in the head. Want to hear my suspicion on who is the spy? Asks Kaminari. He gets up and Midnight immediately is on guard. Suspicious of Kaminari immediately, she expected him to be intelligent for his age. But this goes beyond just a simple genius. She pulls up her sleeve, ready to release her knockout gas. Ha ha ha, just joking, sensei. He laughs as he sees Midnight on guard. Kaminari can destroy her in less than a second. So he didn't need to take her seriously at all, as even her quirk is useless against him. But really though, I doubt that anyone in the facility or a student is a spy. You must think higher. Higher? Midnight wonders what he means by that. But then she just another shock. He means the top heroes. She is about to ask him more, but he just makes a silencing motion by putting his finger in front of his lips. Don't go around revealing this to just anyone, Midnight-sensei, because if that information gets on the wrong hands, then we are fucked. After saying that, Kaminari covers his body in electricity which has a yellow tinge to it. His hair stands up and his eyes shine golden. Bzzzt, he then disappears in a yellow flash, leaving Midnight to ponder the things that he said to her. Kaminari pove as I go towards the dormitory, I can't help but contemplate if what I did was the right thing. Now the surveillance towards me will increase exponentially, but I must start building my credibility as a smart person who likes to keep things to himself. The villains must start getting eliminated now. No need to let scum live any longer. The most troublesome ones must go first. Why can't my life be easier? If only I was reborn with some mind control quirk, everything would be 100 times easier. Still, though, things will start getting serious now. People around me could start dying if I am not careful, and while I wouldn't sacrifice my life for another, I still don't like to have my friends and people I have started to care about get killed. Damn though, meeting Midnight is kinda disappointing. From how she is portrayed, she seems like a slutty woman, but after observing her some more, I know that she would never do anything unprofessional with a student like me. Chapter 44. Better. The next day, during homeroom, Aizawa talks to the class about their next challenge. Your next big thing is obtaining their provisional hero license. It has a roughly 50% passing rate. I am gonna pass this. Then I will ask Kaminari out again. Gotta make sure that no one is around this time. Whispers Mina to Toru. Aizawa doesn't say anything, and instead just throws a chalk, hitting Mina in the forehead. Ow! She yelps, and stops talking as she sees Aizawa's scary look in his eyes. Anyway, as I was saying, continues Aizawa as if nothing happened. That is why we will be spending time developing your ultimate moves. Then as if on cue, Cementos, Ectoplasm, and Midnight enter the classroom and elaborate more on the importance of ultimate moves. Kaminari drones out at this. He already has countless ultimate moves. Instead, he looks at Momo, who is writing everything down. She has become very serious recently as she wants to catch up to her electrifying friend. Anyway, out on your hero costumes and come to Gym Gamma, says Midnight, and like always she leaves an innuendo about skin-tight hero costumes before she walks away. Class 1A changes into their hero costumes. Midoriya looks at Kaminari as he is conversing with Kirishima, both of them already having their ultimate moves. Kaminari catches Izuku staring at him and looks at him weirdly before covering his body. Sorry Midoriya, but I don't swing that way. As soon as Kaminari says that, everyone now looks at an embarrassed Izuku, which was the worst move to make, as now everyone looks at the user of One for All weirdly. Kaminari only snickers at this. Come on, I was just joking around. But your reaction made me question it for real now. Ha 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 ha. After some joking around, the class meets at Gym Gamma to begin their training. Izuku looks at Ochako and like always, she is looking at Kaminari. Usually, he wouldn't think about things like this, but yesterday evening he heard the girls having some girl talk, and Kaminari was mentioned a lot, like by every single girl in the class. This gym also goes by another name. Aizawa starts explaining. It is Training Dining Land, or TDL. This confuses everyone why he would say something like that. Even Kaminari is confused. He wonders if this is something important. But Cementos comes forward and starts explaining in more detail. Well, it is because of me. I can change the environment into anything I want by using my quirk. So this can create many environments to fight in. In this way the gym caters for each student, hence the dining in TDL. Kaminari listens to this with a bored expression on his face. He didn't care about any of this. Tenya abruptly asks why the class must have ultimate moves for the provisional hero license exam. Aizawa replies by stating that the exam tests many facets of being a hero, and Midnight points out the particular importance of fighting ability, of which ultimate moves are an integral part. Ectoplasm brings up Tenya's Recipro Burst as an example of an ultimate move, claiming that it poses enough threat to be classified as one, much to Tenya's delight. Midnight looks at Kaminari. Also, your lightning speed also classifies as an ultimate move. Kaminari nods at that, already knowing this. Also, his iron sand manipulation classifies as an ultimate move in a way. Aizawa then seemingly just remembers something and points it out to the students. Oh, by the way, you will all spend the remainder of the summer perfecting your ultimate moves. Also, you should all think about some costume upgrades. With that said, the class begins training by fighting against ectoplasm clones. Kaminari too, but this time he is not planning to use his quirk at all. Instead, he plans to learn some genuine hand-to-hand fighting. The clone looks at Kaminari and sighs. Honestly, Kaminari, you are already good enough. I have no idea what to teach you, except for some close-quarters combat without your quirk. That is the truth, and ectoplasm easily admitted that. Kaminari is at the top, not only in his class, year, or school. He will be on the top 5 at least if he is immediately made a hero. He will be the hardest to teach. Because I don't have much to teach him, thinks the ectoplasm clone, but he is also proud of the future hero. At the same time, many different students are learning new things too, all with different difficulties. Mina tries shooting a jet of acid from her palms, but the jet does not travel more than a few feet. The ectoplasm clone suggests for her to make a nozzle with her fingers, increasing the velocity of her acid jet and allowing it to shoot farther. An ectoplasm clone challenges Momo to create 2 items at once, which she does easily. Izuku stares at the rest of his classmates and tells his ectoplasm clone that he isn't sure how an ultimate move would work, as his arms are vulnerable to damage if he pushes his quirk too far. The clone tells Izuku to simply work on developing his quirk for the day. That is when All Might appears at the entrance of the gym. He is in his thin form. Though he is still an active duty hero, due to Kaminari's help during the All-for-One fight. He can feel that he won't be able to use One for All for much longer. The quirk is simply moving on to the new user and weakening by the day. He focuses immediately on Izuku, noticing he is having trouble coming up with an ultimate move. Bakugo, on the other hand, explosively defeats his clone and demands ectoplasm make another. Achiko, who is practicing self-levitation, Rakido, who is powering up with cake, and Toru remark on Katsuki's impressive ability and power. All Might appears next to Izuku as he looks at the other students improving. Kaminari too was having a hand-to-hand fight with an ectoplasm clone. Due to the latter being a hero very experienced with close-quarters combat, Kaminari was losing terribly because he isn't using his quirk at all. Honestly, that kid is something else. Always trying to improve no matter what. Contemplates All Might, truly impressed by Kaminari's attitude. He never is arrogant, even after fighting one of the most dangerous villains, if not the most dangerous, in the world. He is still humble and doesn't mind getting beaten by ectoplasm, still refusing to use his quirk, and continues to fight. That is when All Might gets an idea and looks at Izuku. Midoriya, you are too hard to copy All Might. He stays in character as he says that, just so others don't figure out who he is. All Might smiles as Izuku seems to figure something out. Then the NR.1 hero moves on to give advice to Ijiro. After the first day of training, Kaminari heads to the development studio for a costume upgrade. He needs some new things to be added. Metal can also be added since it doesn't isolate his power anymore. Instead, it helps him levitate his body. Izuku, Tenya, and Achiko accompany him. So you guys need some upgrades too? Asks Kaminari. A gentle smile appeared on his face. This makes Ochako flushed. Yes. The first to answer is Tenya. I am looking for a radiator to keep my engines cool. Whoa, that would bring your quirk to a new level if you were able to get that. Exclaims Kaminari in amazement. I will have to be very careful of you now when we fight. Your ultimate move could be spammed, and one hit from that, and I would either be out for the count or close to it. Tenya looks at Kaminari in shock when he says that. After all, Kaminari saying that he will have to be careful against him is the best compliment one can get. Especially a speed type like Tenya. Of course, whether Kaminari told the truth on that or not, only he will know. Ochako smiles at this too. Yep, you better watch out for me too, since I will get a tool to lessen my nausea. Though she says it as a joke, Kaminari nods at her with a serious look on his face. Yes, honestly, yours is one of the strongest quirks in class. I mean, one touch and most people are finished in a fight against you. For example, remember the Nomu that we fought during USJ? They nod. Well, if you touched him and let him float up, it wouldn't be able to do anything. Game over. A creature that was able to fight All Might almost equally, you would have been able to immobilize it. Ochako stops walking and looks shocked. She never thought about it that way. She never saw her quirk as something amongst the strongest in the class. Especially when Kaminari mentioned Nomu. All of them saw how terrifying the creature was. But Ochako could have handled it with one touch. Even Izuku was amazed by this. He is also amazed by Kaminari. No wonder he took his quirk so far. I should ask him for some advice sometimes. He will know how to improve something. He is about to ask when, boom! An explosion covers them all. Chapter 45. Realization. Boom! As the explosion suddenly covers them all, Kaminari activates his ability in a split second, pushing all of the others out of the way, while he himself not getting out of the way. While he does all of this, he can't help but think. Future knowledge for the win. He feels a body hit him, and a soft feeling on his chest as he is pushed to the ground by the explosion. When the dust clears, Kaminari finds Mei lying on top of him. He has a gentle smile on his face as he asks, "Are you okay?" The others are shocked as they are shocked by Mei's exposed cleavage getting close to Kaminari's face. The latter doesn't seem to mind at all, and seems more concerned with Mei's well-being.
Sorry,
Says Mei hurriedly as she gets up and looks at Kaminari. "Oh, I remember you. You were the sports festival winner. Your name was, sorry, totally forgot your name." Kaminari seems not bothered by this and gets off the ground. "No need to feel bad. My name is Kaminari Denki. These are Izuku, Ochako, and Tenya." He introduces everyone else that was with him. Mei nods at this. "Nice meeting you all. My name is Mei. Hope I get along with ya." Izuku blushes at this, finding Mei to be a very cheerful and nice girl. Plus, the revealing tank top doesn't help his embarrassment at all. Mei doesn't notice any of this as she walks away to continue developing her babies. "Babies?" asks Kaminari, confused by this. Though he already knew everything about this, he gives it his maximum effort to hide any indications of knowing the future. That is his biggest weapon that he has, not just the events. He doesn't mind if they change. But just knowing his enemy's powers is priceless. "Yep, babies,"
confirms Mei enthusiastically.
"Okay," Kaminari says, appearing weirded out by the situation a little. "Anyway, we are here for some costume upgrades." This makes Mei turn around and excitingly approaches Kaminari. "Really? What do you want?" Kaminari puts his hands on her shoulders and makes her distance a little. Too close. Mei seems confused by this, not understanding the social norms at all. That is when Power Loader appears. He comes out of the development studio room and looks at Mei being overly affectionate with a stranger. This causes him to sigh. Mei is talented, but her social understanding is zero. "Oi, Mei, don't bother them. Also, you had another explosion." He is a little annoyed at this. "Teeh." Mei just makes a cute face and put out her tongue. "Don't teeh me." This annoys Power Loader even more. Kaminari and the others feel like they are witnessing a weird moment, one which they can't interfere with at all. But after a couple of minutes of him reprimanding Mei, he finally addresses Kaminari, Izuku, Tenya, and Ochako. "Oh, sorry you had to witness that. Come on in now." They awkwardly enter the development studio, and as Izuku explains what he wishes for his upgrade, Mei forces him to try out a powered suit she made. The suit twists Izuku's body around as its operating limits were not programmed correctly. He is a pushover, thinks Kaminari, seeing Izuku being pushed over by Mei to try the different machines that are untested. Izuku will never be able to make people believe in him if he is such a pushover. Though he contemplates that, he doesn't plan to help Midoriya. After all, confidence gained by someone else's interference is a fake one. Mei continues to cause trouble for the three students as she gives Tenya arm engines, sending him into the ceiling. "Okay, maybe every one of the males in our class is a pushover," concludes Kaminari. Hey, Denki, do you want to try this new machine? May asks Kaminari, showing him some bracelets. He just shakes his head at that. No way he is trying anything that she makes and is untested. No thanks. I don't want to end up like him, he says while pointing at Tenya, who is still on the ceiling due to his hand propeller gear. That was intentional. Yeah, totally intentional, argues May, even though her expression shows that even she is unsure. Kaminari doesn't hide his uncertainty at this, but she still sticks to her point. Yeah, Engine Boy can now run with his arms while his legs cool off. It is a 100% effective product. I don't know about that. It could be more effective, counters Kaminari, like a cooling system in his leg gear. As they were talking about this, Izuku looked at his hand, which has numerous scars from using One for All. Suddenly his eyes widened in shock, as if a lightning bolt hit him. Powerloader apologizes for May's self-centered temperament, but also explains to the students that she is an especially talented engineer who will likely help them in their later pro-hero careers. Achiko mentions she would like a costume upgrade to better control nausea caused by her quirk. Boom. But not before May can cause another explosion with another one of her inventions. For days later, Mineta and Izuku are resting on the training grounds while looking at the others training. So upgrades did you put on your suit? Asks Mineta. Just some basic designs. Also the soles of my boots are metallic now. Answers Izuku, while thinking about May's excitement as she helped him. He didn't mind getting attention from a girl, but he gets chills every time he thinks of May. Chills of fear, that is. He tested so many pieces of equipment on him. What about a cosmetic change? Mentions Mineta. Izuku's hero costume isn't that connected to the latest fashion sense. Nah, I am not going to change the base too much, says Izuku. A smile appears on his face as he thinks of it. Because my mother designed this costume for me. At this time, Fumikid shows off his ultimate move to Midnight, which involves dark shadow enveloping him like armor to compensate for his weaknesses in close-range combat. Katsuki also shows off his new ultimate move, AP Shot, in which he focuses his explosive power on a smaller surface area, allowing it to penetrate a thick concrete wall. A piece of the wall Katsuki just broke through crumbles off and falls towards All Might. Katsuki and Shota warn All Might, but Izuku jumps out with One for All, full cowl activated. Izuku destroys the falling wall with a single kick, showing off a new move, which he names One for All, full cowl, shoot style. As Katsuki and Shota look on in surprise, All Might smiles at Izuku in approval. Whoa, that a new fighting style? The first time I see you fight with anything else than your fists. Ijiro commends Izuku on his new moves and is surprised by his new fighting style. Kaminari looks at this with a strange look in his eyes that no one else except Momo notices. That look only lasted for a couple of seconds, but it brought Momo chills on her spine. What was that feeling? Wonders Momo, but she dismissed it as she goes back to training. Yeah, it is thanks to the new soles I got from the support department, explains Izuku. Though, shoot style isn't quite a super move. Still, it is a step in the right direction, says All Might in his deflated form, a proud smile on his face. Oi, you shouldn't get so close to his place, it is dangerous. Aizawa warns All Might to stay a safe distance away from the training session to avoid having All Might reveal his real identity to protect himself. Oh, okay, says All Might before turning towards Bakugo. Also, sorry, my fault for getting too close to a dangerous area. Not your fault. Yeah, says Bakugo as he looks at the skeleton-like man in front of him. Be more careful next time. Suddenly Bakugo's eyes widen, an almost impossible idea appearing on his head. He then looks at Kaminari. He should know something about this. But seeing Kaminari training, he doesn't interrupt his training and just decides to go cool off. Izuku also notices that Kaminari and Ijiro both have new costume upgrades as well. Ijiro, you also got new upgrades? Asks Izuku, curious about what he could have gotten. After all, it might give some ideas to him too. Ijiro smirks at that. Heh, you have no idea dash. He gets excited about his new style, but he's interrupted by the arrival of Vlad King and Class 1B. Nito taunts Class 1A as usual. Sup, 1A trash, we are gonna destroy your class in the dash. But Nairo too is interrupted as Aizawa says. Class 1A and 1B will not compete against each other in the Provisional Hero License exam. Aizawa then goes on to explain that most of the participants in the exam will not be first-year students either, and will have more experience than Class 1A. Kaminari povas the training class passes. I go change, and immediately out of my changing room see Bakugo waiting for me. He looks at me intently, seems like he has something to say, but I break the moment by saying, waiting for me out of the changing room, and after that staring at me so intensely can give people the wrong idea. If it isn't the wrong idea, then no thank you, I don't swing that way. Bakugo sighs at this in annoyance, knowing that getting in an argument with me is pointless as I will just spin things around and make the situation worse for him. Annoying as always. I smirk at that. Yep, so what did you need me for? I and him start walking towards the dorm when he narrows his eyes. That Toshinori Yagi, doesn't he remind you of someone? You mean All Might? I tell him. Immediately that gets his attention as he nods slightly. Then I continue. After you find out All Might's quirk, maybe then you will figure out what is going on. Of course, even I only have assumptions till now, though some of them have already been verified. He nods at that too. I and Bakugo don't have a bad relationship. We did fight villains together. So that makes him put up with my personality, which is 99.9% of the time joking around. That is when Bakugo out of nowhere says, "Kaminari, fight me." That stops me in my tracks as I look at him with a serious look on my face. Chapter 46, Exams. As I hear Bakugo's challenge, I am a little surprised at that. But judging by his personality, I should have expected it. I just never thought about such things. So, you sure you want to fight me? I ask him, already knowing the answer to this. Yes. He answers in the end. I just sigh at this. It is a shame. Where? I ask him simply. I see no need to try and convince him out of this. He needs to learn that I am better than him in every way. He is strong, but nowhere near my level. Bakugo points towards one of the training grounds and says, there, general POV. After arriving at the training ground, Kaminari sees that it is just another city structure. It is mostly used for rescue training. Kaminari does some stretches. I am ready whenever you are. Bakugo shrugs and puts on his grenade-like gloves. Boom! He propelled himself towards Kaminari, but the latter doesn't seem fazed by this at all. He dodges to the side as lightning runs through his body. Boom! Bakugo uses explosions to propel his fist and almost backhands Kaminari. HM? He predicted what I would do. Kaminari was a little surprised by this. As usually, Bakugo fights with rage and instincts. A very suitable way for him to fight, as his anger makes him sweat more, strengthening his quirk. But now, he seemed calm. Strange, but it seems like Bakugo has become better. Or is he someone else disguised as him? No, I doubt something like that would happen. No one else but Bakugo could use his quirk so good. Bakugo uses explosions generated from his palms to twist his body and deliver a powerful and fast kick at Kaminari's head. But he still dodges it, seeing that the kick was quite fast and powerful. Kaminari's speed is still too extreme for Bakugo to be able to hit him in hand-to-hand combat. Still, the usually angry future hero had spent a considerable amount of time studying Kaminari and the way he moves. But suddenly, Bakugo's hands start sizzling. This is the only warning Kaminari can get, because before the sound even fully reaches him. Boom! A giant explosion engulfs both him and Bakugo. Once the dust clears up, Bakugo's arms are shaking due to overexertion. But Kaminari was covered in iron sand from head to toe, so no part of the explosion hit him. The iron sand peels off like an onion, and Kaminari comes out of it completely unharmed. Damn, Bakugo. You almost got me there. That is true. The explosion was way too fast for him to dodge it completely. But he could tank it with his iron sand ability. He always keeps some under his clothes. Kind of like armor, though he uses it as training and keeps it on during most of the day. Bakugo gets angry at this. He has put in hours of work at this and analyzed Kaminari's movements during training. He is a little at the ineffectiveness of this, so he goes back to his rage way of fighting. But then, before his instincts can even catch up, Kaminari is already pushing him down on the ground with just a casual shove. Bakugo can't even react as his whole body is paralyzed. Bam! When he hits the ground, Kaminari also lies down on the ground and looks at the stars. Welp, that was good. You have talent. Fuck. Bakugo just swears at this. I don't need your sympathy. Well, you don't have my sympathy, says Kaminari casually. He doesn't pity Bakugo. The kid is strong-headed. He won't suddenly give up just because of a loss. But really though, anger is a weapon, and you charging recklessly is bad. Even if it is kind of covered by your instincts, you will need to be calm and angry at the same time. A calm rage of sorts, so while you will continue sweating, you will be able to think calmly. Tisi. Bakugo is annoyed, but he remembers the way Kaminari always handles things calmly and how he dealt with the villains when they were captured. Though he will never admit it externally, Bakugo respects someone like Kaminari. Well then keep training, and one day you will become quite strong, Bakugo, says Kaminari as he gets up and walks away. Though on the outside he was his usual happy self, internally is contemplating where this will lead Bakugo to. He can't see the future, and Bakugo has changed a lot due to his influence. Kaminari scratches his head in annoyance. Shit, how did brother used to do it? Okay, take into account Bakugo's personality. He is boisterous, loud, reckless, and stubborn. He is unlikely to become a villain due to his true admiration for heroes. He is also unlikely to try and cripple me to surpass me or use underhanded methods due to his pride. TCH, still, way too hard to predict anything too accurate. He is truly troubled by this. He would like to know the future. A quirk for it would have been useful. I should keep Night Eye alive. That would save me so much trouble. Kaminari might not be going too hard on the villains and only killing a couple of them, but he still plans to make the hero's side stronger. Yes, I can just see it now. My stage in the spotlight, where I won't have to play the prey anymore. Where I can become a predator. Where I will jump to the #1 hero in one fellow swoop. On the morning of the Provisional Hero Licensing Exam, Class 1A travels to the National Dagoba Arena. Mineta looks around nervously, because every one of his classmates might have a very good chance to pass. He felt that he was lacking when compared to some others. He looks at Kaminari and sees him surrounded by girls. No, Toru, I am sure that you will pass too, says Kaminari with a smile on his face. You think so? Kaminari, yes, everyone should do their best. It doesn't matter what you do, as long as you give it your all. You won't have any regrets. Mineta can feel Kaminari's charisma seep off his words like sweet honey. Damn that bastard. He already has his harem of girls around him. I want to be popular, yells out Mineta, weirding out everyone, making them look at him like he is a creep. That is when Aizawa appears. Mineta, stop your daydreaming. You are scaring everyone away. Also, don't worry, everyone just has to do their best and you will pass. HM? Aizawa, sensei, from what I know we should become semi-pros if we get these licenses, right? Asks Kaminari, curious to reconfirm some of his knowledge. Yep, confirms Aizawa casually. Hell yeah. Plus ultra all the way. Yells Kirishima out loud. Kaminari knows what is gonna happen next, so he just goes to do some stretches to the side, ignoring the drama between Todoroki and Inesa, whirlwind, wind control, quirk. After that, a tired-looking guy comes and explains how the exam will work. It is pretty much free-for-all. To accomplish this, only the first 100 students out of 1540 gathered to take the exam who complete the first test will move on to the next one. Each student has 6 red balls and 3 targets to attach to their body where they are visible to others. The students must hit other students' targets. Once a student has all of their targets hit, they are out, and whoever attached the third ball claims the defeat. Participants need to eliminate 2 students to move on to the next phase of the exam. Kaminari POV after making sure the people in my class are not nervous. This should be everything that they need to pass. Now they just need to be a little lucky, and even the weakest amongst us will pass. The shutters fall, and we are in the field where the exam will be held. Once the signal comes for the exam to start, everyone starts targeting our class. The weeding out of you is something that happens every year. But, buzz, my hair stands and my eyes shine yellow. I look around me. Everyone seems to be moving in slow motion. I also spot a certain girl to the side and a smirk makes its place on my face. Cripple me to surpass me or use underhanded methods due to his pride. TCH, still, way too hard to predict anything too accurate. He is truly troubled by this. He would like to know the future. A quirk for it would have been useful. I should keep Night Eye alive. That would save me so much trouble. Kaminari might not be going too hard on the villains and only killing a couple of them, but he still plans to make the hero's side stronger. Yes, I can just see it now. My stage in the spotlight, where I won't have to play the prey anymore. Where I can become a predator. Where I will jump to the #1 hero in one fellow swoop. On the morning of the Provisional Hero Licensing Exam, Class 1A travels to the National Dagoba Arena. Mineta looks around nervously, because every one of his classmates might have a very good chance to pass. He felt that he was lacking when compared to some others. He looks at Kaminari and sees him surrounded by girls. No, Toru, I am sure that you will pass too, says Kaminari with a smile on his face. You think so? Kaminari, yes, everyone should do their best. It doesn't matter what you do, as long as you give it your all. You won't have any regrets. Mineta can feel Kaminari's charisma seep off his words like sweet honey. Damn that bastard. He already has his harem of girls around him. I want to be popular, yells out Mineta, weirding out everyone, making them look at him like he is a creep. That is when Izawa appears. Mineta, stop your daydreaming. You are scaring everyone away. Also, don't worry, everyone just has to do their best and you will pass. HM? Izawa, Sensei, from what I know, we should become semi-pros if we get these licenses, right? Asks Kaminari, curious to reconfirm some of his knowledge. Yep, confirms Izawa casually. Hell yeah. Plus ultra all the way. Yells Kirishima out loud. Kaminari knows what is gonna happen next, so he just goes to do some stretches to the side, ignoring the drama between Todoroki and Inesa, whirlwind, wind control, quirk. After that, a tired-looking guy comes and explains how the exam will work. It is pretty much free-for-all. To accomplish this, only the first 100 students out of 1540 gathered to take the exam who complete the first test will move on to the next one. Each student has 6 red balls and 3 targets to attach to their body where they are visible to others. The students must hit other students' targets. Once a student has all of their targets hit, they are out, and whoever attached the third ball claims the defeat. Participants need to eliminate 2 students to move on to the next phase of the exam. Kaminari POV after making sure the people in my class are not nervous. This should be everything that they need to pass. Now they just need to be a little lucky, and even the weakest amongst us will pass. The shutters fall, and we are in the field where the exam will be held. Once the signal comes for the exam to start, everyone starts targeting our class. The weeding out of you is something that happens every year. But buzz my hair stands and my eyes shine yellow. I look around me. Everyone seems to be moving in slow motion. I also spot a certain girl to the side and a smirk makes its place on my face. Cripple me to surpass me or use underhanded methods due to his pride. TCH, still, way too hard to predict anything too accurate. He is truly troubled by this. He would like to know the future. A quirk for it would have been useful. I should keep Night Eye alive. That would save me so much trouble. Kaminari might not be going too hard on the villains and only killing a couple of them, but he still plans to make the hero's side stronger. Yes, I can just see it now. My stage in the spotlight, where I won't have to play the prey anymore. Where I can become a predator. Where I will jump to the #1 hero in one fellow swoop. On the morning of the Provisional Hero Licensing Exam, Class 1A travels to the National Dagoba Arena. Mineta looks around nervously, because every one of his classmates might have a very good chance to pass. He felt that he was lacking when compared to some others. He looks at Kaminari and sees him surrounded by girls. No, Toru, I am sure that you will pass too, says Kaminari with a smile on his face. You think so? Kaminari, yes, everyone should do their best. It doesn't matter what you do, as long as you give it your all. You won't have any regrets. Mineta can feel Kaminari's charisma seep off his words like sweet honey. Damn that bastard. He already has his harem of girls around him. I want to be popular, yells out Mineta, weirding out everyone, making them look at him like he is a creep. That is when Izawa appears. Mineta, stop your daydreaming. You are scaring everyone away. Also, don't worry, everyone just has to do their best and you will pass. HM? Aizawa, sensei, from what I know, we should become semi-pros if we get these licenses, right? Asks Kaminari, curious to reconfirm some of his knowledge. Yep, confirms Aizawa casually. Hell yeah. Plus ultra all the way. Yells Kirishima out loud. Kaminari knows what is gonna happen next, so he just goes to do some stretches to the side, ignoring the drama between Todoroki and Inesa, whirlwind, wind control, quirk. After that, a tired-looking guy comes and explains how the exam will work. It is pretty much free-for-all. To accomplish this, only the first 100 students out of 1540 gathered to take the exam who complete the first test will move on to the next one. Each student has 6 red balls and 3 targets to attach to their body where they are visible to others. The students must hit other students' targets. Once a student has all of their targets hit, they are out, and whoever attached the third ball claims the defeat. Participants need to eliminate 2 students to move on to the next phase of the exam. Kaminari POV after making sure the people in my class are not nervous. This should be everything that they need to pass. Now they just need to be a little lucky and even the weakest amongst us will pass. The shutters fall, and we are in the field where the exam will be held. Once the signal comes for the exam to start, everyone starts targeting our class. The weeding out of you is something that happens every year. But buzz my hair stands and my eyes shine yellow. I look around me. Everyone seems to be moving in slow motion. I also spot a certain girl to the side and a smirk makes its place on my face. Chapter 47. Plans. Toga in her disguise looks as the other school students attack the U.A students. But what she is mostly concentrated on is Kaminari. As she expected, he destroys the competition. But he does leave some for his other classmates too. But what caught her eye is his movements. She puts on some glasses. It is something that slows down the perceptor of time and replays every move that Kaminari does along the past seconds. She analyzes his movements and looks for any openings. He is surprisingly skilled at hand-to-hand combat. Did he train it? Even though he doesn't need it?
Contemplates Toga.
Era Kaminari. Senpai is quite hardworking. I want to see that scary look of his once more. Those cold eyes. Even Tamura isn't as scary as Kaminari was at the time when she was alone with him. Kaminari grabs 2 people by the top of their heads and smashes them together while at the same time hitting their targets, eliminating them. He has gotten even better. Analyzes Toga, biting her lips till it draws blood. She can't see any opening. She can't go and have some fun with Izuku now that she has to deal with Kaminari. Damn, I would rather be with Izuku, Kaminari. Chan is no longer as attractive as he used to be. He is scary now. Everyone, stay together. Yells Kaminari towards 1A. No, I can't use my quirk with too many people around, so I will be going on my own. Says Todoroki. This makes Kaminari look at the ice flame boy coldly. But he doesn't do anything to stop the man. Bakugo though does stay and surprises everyone as he calmly runs forward. Boom! He uses his explosions to propel himself. Immediately he appears in front of the other student that is about to throw some hardened balls. But Bakugo grabs him by his hair and slams his head on the ground. Bam! He then uses his sphere to touch the targeted spot on his opponent's uniform. Catch on. He is calm? Izuku is surprised by all of this too. Everyone is, but that doesn't last long as they have to concentrate on the fight in front of them. One of the other school students sees this and uses his quake quirk to rattle the ground and cause a miniature earthquake. This makes everyone stumble slightly. This causes some of the balls that were being fired from underground. Acid Veil! Yells out Mina as she spews acid out of her palms and uses them like whips to disintegrate any balls coming closer to her. While at the same time, she protects her teammates from any attacks too. Fumikage sees this and uses Dark Abyss as his ultimate move, and after equipping part of his quirk Dark Shadow, he controls it to extend its arms with balls in them and he targets a random girl from the opposing side. He tries to use it against another girl, Tatami, but she collapses the upper part of her body and narrowly dodges. But still, everyone is losing their footing especially as another earthquake lands, and this time it caves in a deep part of where 1A class is. Kaminari also stumbles for a split second. Now! In that split second, Toga disguised as Kami, a woman with straight, fawn-colored hair that reaches just below her shoulders and large, dark brown eyes. She has noticeably full, plump, and glossy lips as well as a quite curvaceous figure. But Kaminari still has his auto-dodge barrier around his body and can dodge, but is surprised as a small scratch appears on his cheek. Suddenly his body wobbles. Poison. He concludes calmly as he straightens up as he starts releasing heat and his skin turns red. But in that split second that Kaminari overheats his body, his auto-dodge barrier goes down. And at that moment Toga uses her move and disappears from Kaminari's senses. He narrows his eyes at this.
Toga.
But there is nothing that he can do, and that is when Kaminari notices something else that is strange too. My reaction time? Why is it so slow? This one truly shocked him. Is there someone else around here with a hypnosis-type quirk? Theorizes Kaminari, his eyes darting around. Fwish. Suddenly, another large gash appears on his back, and blood spews out in droves. Kami smiles at this, and everyone else is also surprised. After all, this is only a test and heroes don't usually use such heavy force. Don't move. An instruction lands on Kaminari's head, and he truly can't move at all. Kami, Toga, smiles even more widely at this. Yes, the doctor was right after all. Now with the poison inside of him, he won't be able to move for a bit. Even if he boils it off, that amount is not simple to discharge. Slowly, a translucent knife appears on Toga's hand. Guess I should stop now. Catch me if you can, says Toga as she disappears from everyone's view while taking off her clothes. This causes everyone to subconsciously look away for a second, and that is enough as she disappears from everyone's view after that, already having taken what she wanted. Bakugo looks at this in surprise, the seemingly unsurpassable mountain that is Kaminari wincing as he falls to his knees, his face pale at the loss of blood. That isn't a student. Aizawa from the stands, together with Miss Joke, immediately recognize who Kami was. All of the proctors who were in the camera room also go into action. Fuck, a villain got in. They all go into fight mode. But it was already too late as a dark portal appears and Toga lets go of her disguise and waves at the camera as she disappears into the portal. Next, she appears in an undisclosed hideout. Tamura is in there scratching his neck nervously. Dabi is just laying back. Double was playing D&D with the Ninja Turtle lookalike. The whole scene was bizarre, but when Toga appears, everyone looks at her intently. She does a peace sign and excitedly exclaims, "Yay, it was a success." At this time, another comes through a dark portal. It is a scruffy man who looks shabby, has a beer belly and dark circles under his eyes. He seems like your average shut-in. I did my job. Where is my pay now? Ha ha ha. Tamura laughs at this madly, unable to contain his excitement. That arrogant bastard. He thought that he was all that shit, but he is just another loser. Bahaha. Dabi smirks. Yes, it was just as the doctor said. Denki Kaminari is almost unbeatable in a straight fight. But his quirk doesn't fortify his mental fortitude. It was the perfect trap. They knew where he would be, and when he was already under the effect of the quirk before he even entered the exam grounds. This quirk has some heavy restrictions, so it was quite hard to use too, but once it took effect, it made Kaminari's body follow an order no matter what. The simpler the order, the stronger the effect. Kaminari was told to stay still in order as simple as it can get. That is when Compress comes in and pulls pikas out of his marble ball. I brought pikas for everyone. Back in the arena, Kaminari js a hollow look in his eyes. The poison is spreading all over his body, and due to the blood coming out of his back, if he uses to detoxify the poison, it will start boiling the water blood too. But his mind was in a whole other place as this happened. Am I gonna lose? Wonders Kaminari. Certain memories from his first life start to resurface again. A memory of his and his brother eating pikas on the kitchen table. Remember, little brother, once a loser, always a loser. Because to be a loser means that there is a winner, someone greater than you. That must never happen in life because once you are okay with the first loss in life, you won't mind the other losses. Actually, you will just get used to losing so much that it will become the norm. Oi, come on now, don't say such things, brother. Just enjoy the pica. Heh, listen to me, you twerp. What I am saying is don't be a loser. I know you were just gonna lead this conversation to my grades in school. Sheesh, no need to be so strict about everything. Though he said that, he did admire his older brother, wanting to be like him. He would even say that he envied him. But 2 months later and a man comes to the door. Are you Mr.? Yeah, why? I am afraid your brother. He has passed away in a car accident. Looking at the cooling corpse of his older brother, I got a new opening. I saw it. The cruel truth of losing. Ran over by a sports car, his brother, the one who seemed to always be in control. I stared at the cold corpse in the coffin. It was half covered as the lower part of the body was mangled. Tears rolled down my eyes. I couldn't help it. My brother was never the nicest person. I wouldn't even call him a decent human being. Always manipulating those around him, even me. But he was so selfish, just so selfish and selfless. He always did everything for the family. What was I supposed to do now? How could I take on his role? The people at the funeral were all sad too, only knowing the mask of my brother. The smiling and helping young man, always at the right place when you needed him. It wouldn't be a stretch to say that everyone who knew him loved him dearly. But I never had any of these naive thoughts about him. There are better men than him who were hated. He played his role perfectly, so why did he still die like this? Pathetic. You were supposed to live. I hated him for dying and leaving me all alone. His usual borderline psychotic advice would never be there to comfort me that I have someone powerful at my side that would protect me, even if the whole world was to go against my ideals. But even without him, as I grew old, I noticed that a part of my brother always lived with me. His strange advice was always imprinted in my mind like a holy gospel. Life continued and I built a family, a beautiful one. I named my first son after my brother, even though they were nothing alike, both in character and appearance. He took more after my wife. I suppose that my life was relatively happy. Everyone has their tragedies, and I never saw myself as special. Even though I grew cold on the inside, I kept a smile on the outside. After all, a smile a day keeps society at bay. I got relatively rich and lived a relatively normal life, and died a relatively normal death, until I opened my eyes once more. This time as a baby. Chapter 48, Burn. Kaminari's body shakes slightly. Everyone in Class 1A, and even the other hero candidates are worried about this. After all, here everyone is aiming to be heroes, and what they saw was more than just that. Boom! But contrary to everyone's expectations, iron sand bursts from the ground and surrounds Kaminari. The smell of iron fills the air. He looks at everyone and he gets up casually, as if he wasn't injured at all. Though the wound on his back ache is terrible as it feels like even the muscles got. I am okay, everyone. The exam can continue like usual, says Kaminari, trying to reassure everyone. But in reality, he was trying to tell the exam proctors to continue and that they don't need to get immediate medical attention. Because he knows what will happen once he is pulled out of here. He will lose terribly. That fate, one of a loser, is something that Kaminari will never accept. Because as soon as he does, he will never be able to stop losing. That is the sad reality of the situation. As once someone is okay with something, the high standard that he has put on himself will be lowered. So using the medical knowledge that he knows, the one that he had to learn to use his quirk to such high levels, he slowly controls the iron sand and heats it using electricity. He does so till the iron sand is sizzling. Then he puts it on his back, burning his wound shut. Tears come out of his eyes, but he has covered himself with iron sand now, so no one can see him wallow in pain. Fuck. I just need to hold on for a little while, thinks Kaminari, his eyes leaning towards the cold look, expressing how he really feels about the situation. Enraged, a cold rage, that is all there is to it. In his eyes at least, he has decided that the villains are too dangerous to let live from now on. I see the error in my reasoning. I assumed that they wouldn't be able to read through me or find any weakness. No, I know for a fact they shouldn't be able to. Someone has interfered here. I underestimated them. Well, that won't happen anymore. Whoosh. Boom. Kaminari then starts using his iron sand to defend and attack, which people close to him notice that this is unusual, as he doesn't rely on the iron sand as a clutch. Instead, he usually uses it to complement his fighting style. But none of them dwell into this too Michigan, and instead continue with their exams. After a couple of minutes, Kaminari notices that he has started breathing more heavily than usual. Also, it seems like no matter how much oxygen he takes he can't seem to be able to dill up in it. His body isn't at a level where it can keep up with the strain, so he uses iron sand as an armor below his clothes and moves it in a walking motion, having the armor move instead of the body. Kaminari Povi will kill them all. Those fucking villains, they will all die. I feel pain going through my body is something beyond just simple pain. It feels like lava forming on my back and melting away at my flesh. I manipulate the iron sand armor under my clothes to fly up. This way I can see all of the attacks coming at me. Currently my reserves are dropping faster, and my mental faculties are a little muddled due to the pain. I see one person coming towards me. I just use the iron sand to grab him by his feet and tie them together. I then point my finger at him. Bzzzt, he is knocked out immediately. I can't afford to go easy on them anymore. Still, I must keep my quirk under control to not kill them, since just a little too high voltage and they are done. This quirk of mine is way more dangerous than most out there. Still, I can pass the exam with just how I am currently. I have all of the targets I need. I should have immobilized Toga as soon as I could then. No, my thought process has been wrong all along. I should just kill her. No. I will kill her the next time I catch sight of her. Tisish, this sucks, being brought to such a pitiful state. I hate mind manipulating quirks, and I can't even get out of them. No way to defend against it. I need to continue developing more. I have Shinso who has a quirk similar to that, so I need to find a way to get out of it. Sigh. No need to dwell on these things for now. What is done, is done. I can't change the past, so I must look towards the future and ways to continue to improve on my weaknesses. Though this one will be hard, because it isn't something that can be solved by me having just more raw power or control over my quirk. Images of Toga's movements and how she disappeared from my senses play in my head. No, she completely disappeared from my senses. My memory of her movements is still fresh. Maybe I can get something out of this after all. General POV. The exam continues and everyone else from Class 1A gathers into teams to fight the others targeting them. This is all because they don't know their opponent's quirks, so they have to be extra careful and have someone with them to pull them out of trouble just in case. After some time, finally, an announcement comes. Check, 1, 2, 3, just checking here. Okay, now, 76 people have passed the exam. Good luck everyone on the second exam, as it will be prepared soon. Till then, you have a dozen more minutes to pass this exam. Also, the people who have already passed will have their names called out, so they can go to the waiting room. The winners breathes a sigh of relief at this, while the ones who hadn't gathered their needed requirements to pass are panicked. The chaos erupts all around as everyone tries their best to pass. The warning was a little strange. Kaminari, on the other hand, contemplates on what was being said. It didn't take long for him to understand what this means. This rule sounds too shabby, like it was just made up on the spot. That is when he understood that it was just added in due to him. So he takes this chance and goes towards the waiting room. He just levitates himself all the way there. Once he arrives, he sees Momo, Kirishima, Bakugo, Tokoyami, Todoroki, and Jairu have already passed too, while there were also some others from other schools who had also passed, but they are in other rooms. As soon as Kaminari enters the U.A room, everyone looks at him worryingly and the atmosphere is tense and quiet. But by now Kaminari has already calmed down and waves at them with a smile on his face. Come on now, everyone. What is it with all the gloom faces? I am okay. It was just a little scratch. Bahaha, I knew that, of course. I wasn't worried at all. Exclaims Ijiro, bring the first to talk while giving Kaminari a thumbs up. That is as expected. Super manly of you, Kaminari. Bakugo, on the other hand, just narrows his eyes and sees Kaminari's movements. Before their fight, he had analyzed Kaminari, so he can now tell that he isn't as okay as he says. He is just so full of shit. Thinks Bakugo. I doubt he can even walk right now if he let go of his quirk. But he wasn't the only one who caught on, as Momo figured out what is going on, but she didn't say anything either. He must have his reasons for hiding his injuries. While Kaminari has phenomenal control over his quirk, but he still can't make his suit of armor walk exactly as he would usually walk. So that is a problem for him, as sharp people can notice what is going on almost immediately. Bomb. And that is when Izawa kicks the door open casually and comes in with a tired look on his face. Denki Kaminari, come with me for a second. Kaminari doesn't refute him and walks with Izawa, but as soon as they are outside, he starts floating instead of walking behind his teacher. Izawa notices this, but doesn't comment on it. But he does say something else. You should drop out of the exam. No way, answers Kaminari calmly without missing a beat. I see, is all Izawa says, expecting a situation like this to arise. Anyway, then you should accept some healing. Okay, but no recovery, lady, because I will pass out from fatigue if she uses her quirk on me. Confirms Kaminari. He is still keeping himself together, barely, despite the burning pain on his back. He also knows that the wound has been burned shut skillfully, so it won't disable his physical abilities in the future at all. Okay. Izawa accepts the terms without a problem. He knows just how stubborn Kaminari can be, so he doesn't see the need to argue with the kid. Also, you are very childish and short-sighted, Denki Kaminari. I know, says Kaminari, ignoring the pointing and dissatisfied look that Izawa gives him. He will never understand what winning means to me. I must never lose. That is my way of life. If I can't even do that, then what is a life worth living for? As a loser, I will constantly be pushed down by the winners. Contemplates Kaminari. Understanding how it is to be at the top in his previous life, he also knows how the top looks down at the bottom. It's the same as looking at unimportant trash. To be a loser means that there must be a winner over me. I must always be the winner no matter what. Once they arrive at the infirmary, Recovery Lady is there, but Izawa shakes his head, meaning that Kaminari doesn't want the treatment. She only sighs at this in disappointment. Let me see the wound, says Recovery Lady, and Kaminari takes off his shirt, showing them his back. That makes even Izawa wince as a part of the skin is pulled off with the shirt, showing the raw flesh below. This is worse than I thought, says Recovery Lady. She still has a calm look on her face. She has seen worse, though rarely in a child. Especially since Kaminari had self-inflicted these burns to forcefully close up his original wound. Young boy, this will lead to horrible lifelong scars on your back if you decide to not immediately heal them. Doesn't matter. That is an easy answer for Kaminari. He doesn't mind any scars on his body as long as it is not his face. You are being dumb. Izawa criticizes him, but Kaminari doesn't budge on this. Recovery Lady sighs at this once more and moves to look at Kaminari's wound. At least the burning is made skillfully. It is mostly skin to stop the bleeding, so there is no muscle or internal bleeding. Izawa, can you go and call Basara? Izawa goes outside to call that person which Kaminari doesn't even remember being in the manga. Later on, he is ready for the second part of the exam. He is now able to move fully and has had some internal stitching done with some random guy's quirk. As expected, the quirks have revolutionized the medical industry too. Contemplates Kaminari. Also, the guy named Basara was just an old doctor that sucked the heat from his wounds. Very useful for burn wounds. And so, the Kaminari enters the second part of the exam. Chapter 49. Major Changes. As Kaminari enters the second stage of the provincial exam, it is rescue training as he predicted that it would most likely be. It was the same as he remembers from his first life. But he usually doesn't try to judge everything from that knowledge, as he has already changed too much, just in case things become unexpected. Still, as soon as the exam starts, Kaminari also levitates himself to charge forward. While he has been given top-tier first aid, he is still injured, so running lighting through his body and putting such strain in it isn't optimal. Plus, while he acted all tough in front of Izawa and the others, this is all just a test. So he doesn't plan to push his body beyond his limits and break it permanently. So he controls his iron sand to do most of the saving. He moves giant structures and levitates people out of the places with a smile on his face. Don't worry, everyone, for I am here in a flash. Though he says that, some people seem to want to criticize him, but he quickly shuffled them away from the cameras and put them in the safe area. Kaminari just talked so much that he didn't even let them respond. which in a way classifies as comforting the target and making them forget about the catastrophe that they just experienced. "So I had this splinter in my foot, right?" says Kaminari, talking to a kid who has a confused look on his face.
No.
Wrong. That makes the kid flinch, scaring him. But Kaminari acts like he doesn't notice and keeps talking. "It was a big splinter, like half a toothpick." He is just spewing nonsense, not letting the victims even talk. Normally, he would be able to comfort them to the best of his ability, but currently, his back is hurting so bad that he can't even crouch down. But he covers that due to rescuing a lot of people. "I hope those bastards at the observation table take into account that I am injured. That should get me a couple more points," complains Kaminari internally. If those observatory guys had done their job correctly, then a villain like Toga wouldn't have been here in the first place. But he, of course, keeps these thoughts to himself. Act like prey. Be a predator. The latter part of his thoughts ring in his head. He tries to muddle his pain with these thoughts. At this time, since he was using too much electricity, his thoughts slow down a little, as his control isn't as good as usual and his mental facilities so strange thoughts appear in his head. Act like a loli. Be a pedodash. Okay, time to wrap this up. My thoughts are going into stupid mode due to discharging too much electricity. Even as the fake villains planted by the exam site. The villains were just Gang Orca and some other goons. Kaminari didn't pay any extra attention to this and concentrated on saving people and restraining any villain goons that come closer. He leaves Gang Orca to Todoroki, his wind pal, Izuku, not caring about anything there, and as if he doesn't notice. But around the middle of the exam, Kaminari starts breathing heavily, his injured body sweaty and feeling already tired due to the strain it has been put through today. He winces as his injury flares up. Damn, this pain. If only it would stop. If only my body wouldn't fail my will. Move. His body simply couldn't keep up, so in the end, Kaminari has to lay down. Even the control starts failing and his iron sand just falls on the ground uselessly. Damn, damn, damn. Don't fail me now. Kaminari's breathing gets even heavier and his face is flushed in exhaustion. His legs feel like noodles, his arms heavy, and it feels like a mountain is in his back. I should be a winner. If I pass out now, bam. He falls on the ground, passed out. Kaminari, yells out Mina worryingly. She was the one closest to him, so she gets close to him and touches his forehead. It feels like he is burning. A large amount of electricity is discharged from his body, making Mina jump back scared. Kaminari's body moves as if possessed by a ghost. He has shocked himself back into consciousness. Bam! But he still falls on the ground, unconscious once more. This time, his quirk doesn't discharge, as he has used almost all of his electricity stored inside of him, something that he hasn't done in years. From the observing rooms, Aizawa, Ms. Joke, and Recover Lady are all looking at Kaminari. Even some of the others are captivated by the sight. Giving it his all, many people can say that, but most don't understand its meaning. Kaminari, he gave it his all. It's the poison that was previously inside his body, says Recovery Lady with her usual grand motherly look on her face. Though he purged it off his body, it had already attacked him by then. It made his immune response overreact. Plus the injury, blood loss, and just general exhaustion, he would have fallen over any second he stepped into the second stage. Surprisingly, he lasted a lot more than I thought he would. Aizawa grunts at this in annoyance. As a teacher, he should have stopped Kaminari, but his hero side took over at the time and wanted to see the young man's spirit. Ms. Joke wasn't laughing, which is rare for her. She just looked at Kaminari calmly. She is amazed on the inside because she wouldn't be sure if she would be as hard-headed as Kaminari even if people's lives were in the line for real. Heroes are humans, so they are not all the same, and the feeling of fear and sloth is within all their hearts. Many others too, both the good and bad, even villains have those. Not everything is as simple as white and black. The world has always been more of a gray color. There are corrupt heroes, even though society acts like that isn't so. Deep within them, all the heroes have accepted that, but they like to pretend otherwise. That was the fact of this society. Some villains were forced to be there because of circumstances too. But someone with that kind of will in no way is a faker. His body gave up before his will did. That was the general gist of everyone's thoughts in here. Thinking that Kaminari did all of that and went through so much pain just to save people that weren't in danger to even begin with. I really don't like people with hero syndrome, complains Recovery Lady. They are just the worst kind of patients. The next time Kaminari opens his eyes, the exam has already passed and there are a bunch of flowers around him. For a second, his mind feels like in a half-dream state, so he can't think clearly. Holy fuck, there are so many flowers. Did I go to heaven? Wait, God, I don't care about heaven. I want to go back and live in the world. But his thoughts clear up and he sees that he is lying down on a bed with flowers around him. He also sees a bunch of cards around him. How the hell do I get out of this place? Kaminari looks around and sees that the whole room is filled with flowers. Wow, just how many days was I asleep? I hope it isn't one of those where I was asleep for years. He gets up and feels the slight ache on his back. He sees that his back is fully bandaged. Seeing this and lying back on the bed, he takes a couple of cards and starts reading them. Ugh, Kirishima's handwriting is so shit. He complains as he tries to read the first note. Whatever, I will read this later. At the same time, in an undisclosed lab underground, a doctor who is a fairly old man of short stature. He is completely bald and has a very large, bushy mustache. He also wears rather peculiar goggles. He is in a dark room with a big capsule filled with a strange liquid in it. Inside of the capsule is a white-haired man with a distinct dark lightning bolt shape to the side of his spiky hair. Nomu. The doctor speaks silently but in an excited voice. My powerful Nomu, awaken now. The pale-skinned man inside the capsule starts thrashing, but the doctor just presses a button on the capsule and the thrashing body calms down. Guess you are not ready yet. Chapter 50, Bad Boy. Izawa is walking down the school hallway towards the infirmary. Normally he wouldn't do such a thing, but he just got a notification that Kaminari has woken up and is reading the cards that he got from the people wishing him well. Annoying. The whole infirmary is filled with flowers, thinks Izawa, remembering the wave of people that came to wish Kaminari well. It was not just Class 1A, it was students from other classes, and even his classmates from middle school, as Mina informed them through the online group that they have together. In the infirmary, Kaminari has already finished reading a quarter of the letters. Who would have thought that some girls who had a crush on me during middle school would still hold on to those feelings? It makes an old man like me feel not really anything. Just kids thinking that middle school and high school is the end of their life. At that time, the brain hasn't even finished developing. What would they even know about love? Kaminari dismisses the girls' letters as nothing more than childhood crushes, things that fade away. Even in his first life he had a crush, which became unimportant in his life because life goes on. He doesn't remember her name, nor how she looked. Well, children will be children. He yawns a little and closes his eyes, concentrating on his electricity reserves. They were about a quarter full, which he isn't surprised, as it takes movement and even direct charge to normally regenerate his electricity. Mostly because of his enormous reserves of it, it would take about a week to regenerate it by himself. Bless the modern-day technology. His mind was thinking useless things, unusually chill. Having put the thoughts of his injury at the back of his mind, he already has decided how he will deal with villains from now on. As long as there are no cameras around, he will go for the kill. That is easier. He has a calm state of mind then, and as he grabs the side of his bed, he thinks back to the scene of when he got sneak attacked and crushes the metal in his hand, but fixed it immediately. Well, he isn't calm. Who would be after that? Though, he is keeping his rage hidden and trying to keep it from clouding his mind. I must stay calm. I have many things to be glad about in this life. I was after all given another chance at life. Plus I wasn't reborn with the head of a dog, invisible, or generally mutant-looking. Kaminari contemplates, thinking about how good things he has in life. When Izawa comes in, he sees Kaminari just looking at some cards intently. Initially he thinks that Kaminari is concentrating on them, but in the end, he just throws it away. Wow, people really should improve their handwriting. I could write better with my feet. Izawa looks at the letter on the ground and says, I don't think your handwriting is any better either. Kaminari looks at him curiously, but then just smiles. Come on, teach. It ain't that bad. Don't talk like a delinquent. Izawa criticizes Kaminari on his way of talking, but in the end, he smiles. Glad to see that you are okay, brat. Hey, that is not how a teacher should talk, whines Kaminari jokingly, turning Izawa's previous words on itself. Oi, don't push your luck, says Izawa, an annoyed look in his eyes. Okay. Kaminari accepts immediately, his causal smile still on his face. Still though, thanks for letting me do something selfish and reckless, even if I didn't pass the exam. Who said you didn't pass? Conceded Izawa with a smirk on his face. Kaminari has to give it his all to seem surprised at this. He expected this after giving it his all, and making himself seem to have such a strong will. But after his surprised expression returns to normal, he just happily says, I see. Izawa smirks at this and throws a card with hero spelled on the back. You have passed the provisional exam. Kaminari catches the card and sees that it seems like his ID. Huh, cool. Yeah, anyway, see you later at homeroom. Izawa waves casually as he walks out of the room, being annoyed by the bright colors of the flowers. Kaminari is left in his room, left to think some things about himself. Bam! But suddenly his door is slammed open and Momo comes in. He waves at her with a smile on his face and tears come off her eyes. Yo, Momo, how have you been? Asks Kaminari as if talking to her every day. She just walks through the flowers and comes close, hugging him. That was stupid. Yep, pretty stupid. Agrees Kaminari, gently hugging Momo back. She has such big boobs, and they feel nice on my chest. Mina is also worried about you too, says Momo, having calmed herself, and with a flushed look on her face letting go of him. She just learned of Kaminari waking up, and as the acting class president, she was supposed to notify everyone else. But her emotions got in the way. I see, well, I better surprise her by going to the class right now, smirks Kaminari, patting Momo in the head. Also, you look very beautiful today, Momo. I guess my body knew that I hadn't had my Momo energy recharged. She immediately flushes even more at that. Don't say such embarrassing stuff. Era, come on now, Momo. Don't be like that. Think of my feelings, he says while grabbing her hand. Momo suddenly feels herself being pulled into the bed and Kaminari throws a sheet over them. He has a mischievous look in his eyes as he grabs her hands. This makes her heart race faster, her face flushed, her brain is empty, unsure of what to say or do next. No, we are in school. We can't do something like this, says Momo meekly. But Kaminari gets close to her and kisses her neck. Come on now, isn't this more exciting? Asks Kaminari, while his hand slowly moves under her shirt. This causes Momo to yelp lightly, but he kisses her to stop the sounds. While these actions were something that Momo, who follows the school textbooks word for word, would never do something like this. But for some reason, she feels excited at this. The risk of being caught makes her adrenaline go wild. Is this what people mean by some girls that like bad boys? Wonders Momo, as she no longer resists Kaminari, going with the flow, using her tongue in the kiss and hugging him. Her hand goes to his lower body. Kaminari notices this and decides to not stop her. Currently, Momo is not thinking straight and he can see that, but he can't fuck her in this hospital bed because there is a genuine risk of getting caught. That would just spell so many problems for him if it happened. But he doesn't mind the touching that they are doing right now. His experience plays a big part in this, as not even 15 seconds later Momo's body shakes slightly. Kaminari, are you awake? That is when a voice comes from the door, causing both Kaminari and Momo to stop in shock. Chapter 51. Dirty Secrets. Kaminari, are you awake? Calls out Mina behind the door. A worried look on her face. She clutches her hand close to her chest at this. She saw how Kaminari fell and tried to shock his system awake. That was a traumatic experience for her.
Yeah.
Says Kaminari in a rushing voice.
Come in.
She comes in and sees Kaminari having bundles of flowers all over his bed, covering the sheets of his bed, making him seem as if he was covered in flowers. Mina Povi see him and put on my usual smile to reassure him that I am not too worried or something. I still remember the time when he would be worried about me about everything, afraid that I might slip and break something, especially after his parents died. For the first time, I saw Kaminari acting worried at something. He was always the image of perfection in my eyes, his movements, goals, and willpower. He is the perfect hero. I was his friend on the outside, but a little fangirling inside. I wonder how he would feel about that. Ha 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 ha. He laughs uncomfortably. Mina, how are you? I give him a thumbs up and smile widely. I am good. I even passed the exam. Never felt better. Damn it. Why did I say something like, never felt better? I hope he doesn't think of me as someone happy that he was in a coma for 2 days. God. Why did I say something like that? It was so stupid. Though I have those thoughts, I keep my smile on my face. Hopefully not looking like an evil person who smiles at his pain or something like that. I am glad that we both passed. Honestly, I was concerned that I would worry you by passing out like that so suddenly, says Kaminari, immediately erasing my thoughts on my anxious thoughts. He truly is too kind. I try my best to not blush at this and playfully tell him, tell me as a young man you must have trouble after 2 days of not masked dash bam. He karate chops me lightly on the head. I told you not to talk like that. He pouts. How will you be able to get a boyfriend if you act like that? You must play the innocent act. I don't mind you, but other people can be troublesome with your outgoing personality. And then, he continues talking. I just smile as he says that. He is very dense sometimes. I don't care what other boys think about me. I care only what he thinks about. I like you. I blur out suddenly, making Kaminari stop talking and looking at me with a shocked look on his face. He is about to say something more, but I interrupt him by saying, well, you were just droning on. Kaminari sighs at that. Damn, I really can't get the courage to confess to him recently. So I do what I always do in a pressuring situation. I make a joke out of it. Come on now, Mina. You made my heart stop for a second there, he says, shifting around uncomfortably. Of course I did. I am so pretty after all, I say, trying to diffuse the situation, but with every word that comes out of my mouth, I swear at myself on the inside. This is not how I want our relationship between us. I want to ruin our friendship. We should be lovers instead. I ruin my mood just by talking, but I still keep a smile on my face. I look at Kaminari's eyes and get ready to say it for real, but I just can't gather my courage. This is just so stupid. Why can't I just say it? I talk with him for 10 minutes. We even discuss what hero we will choose to apprentice under in the future. I chose to leave as he had difficulty sitting and kept shifting uncomfortably now and then. His injuries must be acting up again. Anyway, see you at class. I wave at him while walking outside. Damn. Another day. Another failed confession. If only he wasn't who he is, making me feel like I am not even sure I am good for him. He is just so perfect, never making a mistake, living life without regrets. General Pova, as soon as Mina walks out of the door, Kaminari pulls off his covers. Push all of the flowers off the bed. Momo is there, her face flushed due to the heat under the covers and staying there for so long. Her sweat makes her clothes stick to her body, showing her body perfectly. That was. Momo mumbles, looking at Kaminari in the eyes. He scratches the back of his head with an apologetic look in his eyes. Sorry about that. He apologizes. Momo pouts. You shouldn't have made me do that. Kaminari smirks mischievously at that and grabs Momo's chin and makes her face get closer to his. Come on now, I made you. We should try it. In our dorm rooms too. She flushes even more at that. Kaminari to her feels like the devil whispering tempting things in her ear. And no. Kaminari gets closer and pushes her down. Really? And no. She says again, this time more meekly, not even meeting his eyes as he pushes her on the bed. We are at school. Her heart goes into overdrive just as he thinks of him in her room, in her bed, doing our 18 things. She doesn't mind doing that with him. She won't lie to herself and say that she doesn't like Kaminari that way. Even this bad boy vibe of his makes her excited at the prospect of the surprises and unexpected. Come on now, we're heroes. We must be brave in situations like this and go plus ultra, added Kaminari, his voice like sweet honey, his fingers exploring her body and hitting every right spot, making her feel like a signal going through her spine. Oh, okay. But you must take me on a date. My mother always says that a boy must take a girl on a date, argues Momo, while trying to hold in her moans as Kaminari starts taking off her clothes. For normal heroes, sure. But remember, we are heroes, grinding himself against her nether lips. Are you sure about this? Asks Momo. Her hands go behind his neck, trying to bring him even closer. Trust me, I know about these things. Kaminari lies without missing a beat, using Momo's slight naivety of romance against her. But even she is not naive enough to not know about dating, and the things that she is doing are usually unethical. But she just needed a reason to convince herself, and Kaminari gave her one. Later on, both Momo and Kaminari set their clothes straight. It would raise eyebrows if Momo returned to class disheveled after visiting Kaminari. Momo creates a hand-sized mirror and looks at herself, making sure that nothing is out of place. So what are we now? Are we girlfriend and boyfriend? She has calmed down now and looks at Kaminari with a calm look in her eyes. He nods at that. Yes, we obviously are. But I would like you to keep it secret from the others. Momo nods, not asking why he would say that. But Kaminari continues explaining. I would hate myself if you got hurt because of me. I am hated by villains. They even attacked me during the provincial exam. Plus, there is another thing. A secret thing? That makes Momo curious about what it is. After all, even Kaminari seemed unsure what he should say. Her mind goes to Kaminari maybe being the prince of some country, but she immediately dismisses these silly thoughts of hers. I and the U. Faculty suspect that there is a spy on the inside, and that might be a student. Kaminari says gravely. Oh, I already know that, states Momo casually, smiling at him. Chapter 52. Awakening. Oh, I already know that, states Momo casually, smiling at him. Kaminari looks at her curiously that, though he doesn't ask, Momo puffs her chest in pride. Of course, that was obvious. It also justifies the length the school went to do all this, and why they had U.A become a boarding school. Right, this girl is smart, thinks Kaminari, being reminded once more that this girl is a true genius. Not a fake one like him. A real genius can learn 10 things just by being told one. After fixing her clothes, Momo goes to leave, but not before telling Kaminari. Oh, by the way, I figured an awesome way to use my quirk. I really want to show you. It is so cool. She seemed excited like a kid who just got candy. Kaminari nods at her and smirks, as he had expected. What Momo lacked was originality, and with him having given her the key to thinking outside of the box, Momo has opened the door. Her quirk is strong as long as she uses it beyond just normal things. She can be a top hero with that. Fwash. Kaminari also stands up calmly, activating his quirk at its lowest stages. His hair goes up and electricity crackles around his body. Bzzzzzt crack. But as he does so, he feels the wound on his back start to ache and he starts breathing heavily. What? Kaminari was having trouble using his lighting around his body. His body felt incredibly heavy. He cancels the usage of his quirk and falls on his knees, still breathing heavily. What was that? His internal quirk usage feels strange to him now. His indices feel hot due to his quirk. He takes off his shirt and takes the hand mirror that Momo left behind after she checked herself. Checking his back, Kaminari winces. Steam was coming out of it. What the hell was in that knife when Toga slashed at me? His wound was surrounded in bandages, but the steam and heat coming out of it are undeniable. Kaminari then takes his wallet that was close to his bedstand. He takes out a coin and flips in the air, and letting the electricity out of his body and manipulating it, the coin stops flipping and it stands there as if stuck in time. It starts spinning on the opposite side. Kaminari nods at this, not feeling any fatigue whatsoever. I don't have a problem with the quirk control outside my body. He speeds up his thoughts and still, nothing stops him. It feels like always, it seems except for his brain the rest of his body is affected. I better ask Recovery Lady about this. She is a proper doctor. She should know better than my haphazard medical knowledge. I just studied what I needed to use or... At the same time, Mina walks down towards her class and sees everyone look at her. She gives them a thumb up. He is okay. Yay. Toru is excited at this, waving her invisible hands around. Hell yeah. He is as manly as the devil himself. Yells out Ijiro in happiness. I am not sure that is a good thing, says Siro, confused at the compliment as it sounds more like an insult. Well, the thought is all that matters. Intervenes Azui. Jiro doesn't say anything and just looks at the things going on around her. The last couple of days without Kaminari here, it felt so strange. It was as if a part of the class was missing, something very important. It felt just awkward without him. It felt too normal. Kaminari would always be around them, trying to give everyone advice on their quirks and trying to help them. He is quite kind. I hope that he is good. At the same time, Kaminari has now met up with Recovery Lady. He explains her situation to her and asks, "So why am I not able to use my quirk like before?" Recovery Lady looks at him with a strange look in her eyes, like she was looking at a stupid kid. "This is why I don't like heroes like you. They make for terrible patients. You just went and used your quirk just after you woke up from a coma from a heavy injury and wonder why you have difficulty using it." Realization dawns on Kaminari. "Ah, I get it now. I overworked myself. Heh, that is stupid of me." Sigh. "And you think is funny?" asks Recovery Lady, looking at him. "I don't exactly know how you do it, but the way that you move is unnatural. Your quirk is electrification. It stores and discharges electricity. You have pushed it to the limit. Now, remember, your body is normal, even if it can absorb and store electricity, so that gives you resistance up to a certain degree. But still, your body is normal with no strengthening quirk. Pushing yourself like that is crazy, and unless your body is uninjured and in top shape, you won't be able to use it. You have a strong body, so you can handle the movements, but remember, you are made of just flesh and blood, kid. Don't try pushing yourself too far." Kaminari listens to her and looks at his hand. He takes her advice to heart. He wants to be a hero for his selfish reasons. He isn't going to be suicidal and have himself go to an early grave. He will take this seriously and not use his quirk internally to speed up his body till it heals. "Well, I do need to train some moves which deal with electricity control. That would make it better for me." At this time, in an unknown location, in an unknown underground laboratory, Dr. Kyudai looks at the white-haired young man. Damn, he still hasn't woken up? Is this Nomu a failure? I guess trying experimental clone technology with quirks is a dud. The man rambles on and on to himself while at the same time taking notes. He thought that this Nomu would be one of his masterpieces, but that hasn't been so at all. He can't understand why. Everything should have been perfect. The perfect counter against that dangerous kid. This Nomu has regeneration, metamorphosis, the electrification quirk, and some others that will also help it do better. The doctor sighs at this and presses a button to the side of the capsule, filling it with heavy sleeping agents. He doesn't want the Nomu to wake up while he is not here. The mindless creature would destroy the lab, and the authorities would find this. The doctor walks away, planning to observe Tamura's moves and do as All for One has told him to. But as he walked away, he didn't notice a silver of electricity dance amongst the clone's fingers, and its fingers twitch very slightly. Then his eyes open calmly. They have no emotion in them whatsoever. The dark eyes seem like an endless abyss. Back in U.A., everyone in the class greets Kaminari warmly as he enters the classroom. Even Bakugo smirks. "You finally woke up, sleepyhead." "Heh, I needed my beauty sleep," answered Kaminari without missing a beat. Everyone in the class looks at this friendly, and the only thought in their minds is, they are friends. During the last couple of days, Bakugo has changed and is using his quirk more responsibly and even fights in a seemingly calmer state. Though his power is still the same, and it didn't improve, his fighting style now has been polished as the combination of calmness and instinct has made Bakugo stronger. "Kaminari, better keep training, or I will catch up to you soon," warns Bakugo as he gets up. Slurp, that is when everyone hears a loud and annoying slurping sound. They look at the source and see Aizawa in his futon that makes him look like a worm. "Are you done with the lame high school things?" Kamari laughs at this, uncomfortably scratching the back of his head. "Sorry, Aizawa, sensei." He only smirks at that. "Well, today I am in a good mood. so I will let it slide that you still haven't gotten in your seat, Kaminari. Everyone else panicking had gotten back to their seats and sat down except Kaminari and Bakugo, who were standing up. After they sit back down, Izawa then starts explaining. The lessons will continue like always from now on, though this semester's training will be 10x worse, so get ready. What about hero work studies? Asks Azui. After all, they had those with All Might, who now is more of a counselor since the time he can hold his quirk active isn't long enough to hold a lesson. Also previously, there were internships too. Well, the hero studies will be done off-campus from now on, answers Izawa, as Kaminari just sits down on his desk and relaxing. His mind goes to many different ideas about his quirk and new ideas on how to use it. Izawa doesn't notice as he sees Kaminari just staring at him directly when in actuality he is only half listening. It will be a more official way, an evolved form from the previous internships. You now use those connections that you made during the sports festival. Kaminari wonders who he would like to study under. He has a lot of offers. But in the end, he remembers a certain someone that he met during the hero killer incident, and a smirk forces on his face. Chapter 53. The Third Wheel. After the day's lessons, Kaminari goes back to the dorm. He just sits in the common room. He has been training for so long that he doesn't know what to do in his free time. That is when Momo comes out in casual clothes. She looks at Kaminari calmly, not saying anything since there are people around them. Both Ochako and Azui are talking about something to the side, while Ijiro and Bakugo are planning to go sparring against each other. Their quirks become perfect counters against the other, but also allows them to train against themselves. Izuku is using a dumbbell to strengthen his arms and thinking about the new that he has come up with recently. Momo and Kaminari have a silent conversation just by looking at each other's eyes. It only lasts a split second as she looks at the entrance of the dorm building while she walks up towards her dorm room. Kaminari gets up and does some stretches, getting ready for exercises, and since he is already wearing sports pants and a short-sleeve white shirt, he is already ready for it. Are you going for a run? Asks Izuku. Can I come along? You fucking Deku. You are running my day, you little shit. Kaminari swears on the inside, but outwardly he smiles. Sure. As they walk outside, they both start some simple jogging around the dorm track field. Izuku, I heard that you have now started using your feet to fight. That is good. Your hands must have taken quite a beating. Yeah, recovery lady warned me about that, sighs Izuku. It will be hard to learn a whole new kicking style. He then looks at Kaminari and a little embarrassed. Kaminari, you know a lot of fighting styles, right? Kaminari is confused by this at first, but then understands where Izuku is getting at. Oh yeah, I know a bit about it. I mostly learned it because of my fighting style. Can you teach me how to use kicks in my fighting style? Asks Izuku, hopeful at this, since Kaminari is the best hand-to-hand combatant in the class. Kaminari seems to contemplate the answer, but in the end, he nods. Sure, I don't see why not. Thank you. I appreciate that. He is thankful about this. Nah, no problem, shrugs Kaminari. Anyway, let's start right now. Now? Izuku is surprised at that. What? You have anything going on? Asks Kaminari. I will show you the difference between us. I also want to see the difference between us and see if you are getting closer to me. Aren't you still injured? Izuku is worried about this. He too saw the large cut that Kaminari got during the provincial exam. Don't worry about it now. It is only a little numb, he explained casually. But in the end, he got into a fighting stance. Let's start now. I will teach you while we fight. Start going all out from the beginning, or you won't notice how you even got plummeted to the ground. Izuku nods and takes this seriously. Everyone says that Kaminari is the closest to becoming the #1 hero. He is ahead even of the top heroes. Izuku can feel his bones slightly creak because of the slight overcharge in power. It is only a couple % more than he can naturally handle. But this is Kaminari that he is facing, and honestly, he just wants to prove to himself that he has what it takes. Fwash. He is the first to charge at his top speed. Kaminari only looks at him with a smirk on his face, and as he gets close to kicking him in the face, Kaminari drops down, dodging it easily without even using his quirk. He swipes Izuku's leg from under him, since he was kicking with one leg. Izuku only had one foot on the ground, and he was easily wiped off his feet by Kaminari. Once he is midair, Kaminari grabs him by his face and drops him on the ground. Bam! Izuku tries to break off from the lock, but it is useless as Kaminari locks his arm that if he moves he will break it. Welp, as expected, you saw some martial arts videos and thought that this was it, says Kaminari. This was easier than I thought. I didn't have to use my quirk at all. Kinda disappointing. Forget martial arts and don't learn any of them. Kaminari shakes his head after letting go of the arm lock. Martial arts are made to fight human against human. At normal size, they are just an outdated practice. Nowadays we fight against giant people, with grass hair, those that can shoot fire. Martial arts just create useless habits if you start learning them. It would be better for you to develop something suitable for your quirk. Izuku realizes that Kaminari is right. Martial arts aren't really useful nowadays. It would be better to create a fighting style that amplifies one's quirk than learn martial arts. I see, says Izuku, as he had expected. Learning from Kaminari was a good decision after all. Anyway, that doesn't matter. I can only guide you, explains Kaminari, though both can be used for body strengthening. My quirk is different from yours. While you have done well to copy All Might and his fighting style, your quirks are similar after all, but you are unsuitable for that too since you don't have his build. Maybe in the future, but not at this time. You are more built for speed, while All Might is overwhelming power. Izuku's body goes rigid at that. He knows that Kaminari is someone scaringly smart, and sometimes seems as if he knows everything. So giving any indication that he and All Might be connected. Also no need to worry. I already know that you and All Might have the same quirk, says Kaminari with a knowing smile on his face. Wah! Izuku is shocked at this. He is about to ask Kaminari how he figured it out, but he is interrupted as Momo comes in her gym uniform and waves at them. Hey Kaminari, are you out for a light jog too? She asks, but her words get stuck on her throat once she sees Izuku was there too. She and Kaminari had plans to coincidentally meet each other out while they were out for a sprint. While they were in the dorms, Kaminari's room was on the 3rd floor just above Izuku and next to Koda, who is usually quiet and keeps to his animals, so any noise that they made in his room would be heard. Momo's room is not any different as she had Ochako living below her room, and she is a quiet girl too, and one night as she might be floating up she could hear strange noises coming from Momo's room. Also, relationships like that are forbidden in dorms. So they planned for some outdoor fun, but once Momo saw the 3rd wheel, Izuku, her hopes were crushed. She isn't as good as Kaminari at hiding her disappointment, so her face is full of doom and gloom. Kaminari sees this and decides to change the conversation by saying, "Oh right, Momo, you said that you have something to show me, right? About your quirk?" "Oh yeah." Momo's eyes shine in excitement as she takes out a small object from her pocket. "A scouter?" wonders Kaminari, as the object looks like a scouter from Dragon Ball to him. Momo puts it on and uses a button to the side to turn it on. Gun. Immediately the scouter flickers and Momo perfectly creates something as complicated as a gun in an instant. "I remember when we visited your room, Kaminari, and you said that you have all of your books stored online. This is how I got that idea. This small thing is a mini-computer with hundreds of thousands of weapons, items, medicines, and many more things registered in it. Now I just call out and can make even the most complicated things." Kaminari is amazed by this. He never expected her to pick up on something like this. "Amazing. This will make you way stronger now." Hee. Momo mischievously smiles and calls out, "Jetpack." Immediately, a jetpack is made out of her back, which rips the clothes on her back equals, but she fixes them immediately. Fwash. She then flies around using the jetpack. "I'm going to ask my parents for some power armor blueprints." Kaminari smiles at that. Ah, the power of money. As Momo and Kaminari were having fun and teasing each other, Izuku was just to the side, feeling weird, like he was interfering on something, not understanding that was what it felt like to be the 3rd wheel. Chapter 54. The Big Three. The next day that school comes around, I was a little too tired to deal with the things going on today. My body feels sluggish as it has been doing so recently. I know what is coming soon and I need to be involved in it as much as I can. It is very important for my reputation growth. The hero society must not crumble. I know the future and how I must change it. I should avoid a certain future at all costs. Sigh honestly, I would have joined the villains if I didn't know which side would win in the end. Still, though, my body is getting better with each passing day, and soon I should be able to use my abilities back to the fullest. By then, I should be okay. I am confident in my strength, and I already have a technique developed against such sneak attacks. Initially, it would have never worked if Toga didn't have that technique, which allows her to slip out of people's perception. But now I have a way to deal with it too. Still, though, next time I see her, I am killing Toga. I know that it wouldn't be the most beneficial action. Her death should add some value and benefits to my plan. Sadly, I am not a calculating robot, so this anger inside of me won't settle down until I kill her. Still, I won't be fighting anyone until I am fully healed. Just 2 more days and I will be back in top shape. Recovery Lady has been using her quirk on me after classes, and even though I get tired immediately after, it takes off months of recovery out of the equation. What an amazing quirk she has. It changed how I looked at things a little. I always thought that I should do everything by myself. But there is no need for that. I can just have other people do it for me. I am not a healer, but Recovery Lady is one and Eri will be an even better one. I can't erase quirks with a look, but Izawa can. I have kept him from getting his eye bones injured, so he can use his quirk to its fullest. Everything is off to a good start. Now I just have to keep things like this and on track. Good morning, class. And that is how Izawa greets the class once more as he enters casually. Anyway, today I have brought some people who have experience with the hero work studies. Come on in. Izawa is very punctual and gets straight to the point. No beating around the bush at all. The top 3 in U.A come through. The guy with the shaggy hair is Tamaki Emajiki. The female with long light blue hair and an innocent smile on her face is Nijire Hato. And the last is Mirio, the man who would have had to sacrifice his quirk for the greater good. These guys are your seniors and have first-hand experience, so they will explain to you any questions that you might have. Welp, I am taking a shut-eye till this is over. Izawa goes and takes a nap in his sleeping bag. Lately, he has been sleepy, while I did save him from the pain of getting his quirk slightly weakened during the USJ. My actions also made Izawa keep up his hero work at night while at day he teaches homeroom for the first years. Actions and reactions, that is the principle everything works on. I predicted that something like this might happen. Looking at Mirio, I have no plans to let that guy lose his quirk when he did against Overhaul. I have changed too much for the situation to even be similar anymore. Anyway, introduce yourselves, says Izawa to the big 3. He looks at Tamaki to start. Tamaki is the first to come forward. He looks at us all for a second. Then he turns around and leans his head on the blackboard. I want to go home. The whole class is perplexed by his strange behavior. I can't help but chuckle at this. Hey, my name is Nijire Hato. The girl member of the top 3 has a smile on her face as she looks around the room and goes asking questions. Nijire asks about Mizo's mask, Shoto's burn, Mina's horns, Minoru's hair, Tsuyu's frog species, and Mashireo's tail. I try and ignore those things. She asks so many questions that make Izawa annoyed. Keep quiet. I am trying to sleep here. Slurp. Nijire's questions make her seem like an airhead and not at all her age. But that only adds to her charm, and many boys in the classroom are enamored by her. I admit, she is pretty, but I have eyes for only one girl in this world. Damn. That actually sounds romantic, and it's technically the truth. I bet I could say that in front of a lie detector quirk to impress Momo. Yeah, definitely using that. Izawa sighs at this as he sees that the big 3 have no rationale. But Mirio gives Izawa a thumbs up. Don't worry, sensei, as I will be the star performer today. This makes Izawa even less confident in him. Mirio just seems like All Might, and he knows that the number 1 hero is anything but rational. The journey ahead, yells out Mirio. This confuses the rest of the class, and Izawa pretty much loses hope in us learning anything from the big 3. I only smile throughout the meeting. This is quite entertaining. Mirio looks around, and when he sees that no one was responding to him, he dejectedly adds on. You were supposed to say, it will be full of difficulties dashed. I can see that some of the class find you.A's big 3 to be weird. while some others like Mineta are just looking at Nijire with a gross look on his face. As expected of the little bubble fuck, Mirko sees that Class 1A does not understand what is going on and passionately starts giving a speech once more, acting like the previous failure didn't happen. I understand that feeling. You are all energetic due to getting your provisional hero licenses as first years. All the 1A class doesn't respond to it, they just look at him. Okay, tough crowd. Seeing that his introduction falls flat for the second time, Mirko gets an idea and smiles in full confidence. How about a fight then? All of you against me. That should show you the long journey that you have ahead of you. I didn't remember how things exactly happened and what led to the Class 1A versus Mirko fight in the manga, but I can see that it was because his introduction fell flat. I guess Mirko is a good hero, but his inexperience in dealing with younger kids has shown. But he is also right because having them witness their experiences personally would be better than a simple explanation. Mirko looks at Aizawa for approval, and the Caterpillar Man nods. Do whatever you want. Yawn, let's go. Mirko excitedly yells, pumping his fist in the air. Class 1 just looks at him unimpressed. Well, he has to live up to a lot. My classmates probably thought that U.A's number 1 student would be an older version of me. So it seems they are underwhelmed by Mirko. We all go to Gym Gamma and get ready to fight Mirko. Well, they do. I don't get in the fight, using my injury as an excuse. This was real because I can't use my quirk internally, which poses a big problem for me. Without my speed, Mirko has a chance to beat me. I can accept that as a big possibility, and even if I turn myself into a human stun gun, which he wouldn't be able to touch because he would electrocute himself, he can easily use one of my teammates as a weapon, taking me down with my teammate. That is one of the dozen possibilities that I can think of how to take me out. Mirko is strong. I can easily accept that. Even my strongest attack would do nothing against him due to his quirk. He also has more fighting experience. I don't doubt that he somehow doesn't know of my quirk. I came in first place during the sports festival. He knows of me. On top of all that, I have to be careful to not kill people with my quirk. Just a high enough voltage, which isn't that high, would kill them. Still, if I was in top shape, I would be confident in beating him or stalemating him if he decided to be a dickhead and use his quirk during the whole fight. 1A, do your best. I encourage my class with a very down tone while waving around a crudely Class 1. I drawn in a breakroom towel tied to a mop handle. I did the best I could do with what I had available. Oi, you are making me feel depressed like that, says Kirishima with a confident smile on his face. I will show you that I am still your rival Kaminari. Yeah, about that. Go, go, go. 1A. At least Nijire decided to keep me company and cheer together with me. One absolute defeat later. Me and Nijire cheering on for Class 1A to not be discouraged by their shameful loss. Don't worry, Kirishima. This is not so bad. You did good enough. I encourage my best friend with a smile on my face. You just lost so terribly that you couldn't even touch your opponent. What did you say again? You will show me what exactly? Hearing my sarcastic comments, Kirishima yells out annoyed. Kaminari. Tamaki looks at me and asks, why didn't you join them? I shake my head at that. Nope. I know that I would probably lose if I and he fought at my current condition. If I fight him at anything less than my best, then I would lose. Well, the reality also was that while I can't defeat Mirko in my current condition, I can kill him easily even in my current condition. But the game isn't to kill him here. So I didn't participate in a losing game. Todoroki also isn't participating. It seems that due to my interface, only he hasn't gotten the hero license in our class. Bakugo got it. That is nice. He will be a good trump card on the hero's side. Mirko then explains his quirk to everyone, and I can't help but respect the guy. His quirk was so shit in the beginning, but he has made it into an absolute weapon in his hand. His whole life of training has led him here. When people told him that he couldn't do it, he beat them to it and did it. Still, though, Mirko is another big player that should be kept alive and well on the hero's side. I must put the game in my favor as much as I can before it starts. Only then can I feel a semblance of peace. I don't want the world to actually depend on me. That would be too tiring. I just want the illusion that they are dependent on me. Anyway, I should get ready for my hero work studies too. Since I can't choose Night Eye again, this time I have someone else in my mind. With them, I could learn close-quarters combat to the best of my abilities. I need to close the gap in fighting experience that exists between people like Mirko and me. I can't be number one without having a huge difference between number two. I need the difference between me and Mirko to be as huge as the distance between the earth and the sky. Only then can I be the true best hero and feel easy. Also, I don't like rivals who have a chance catching up with me. I hate people who are better than me. Chapter 55. Misplaced. In a field, close to an unimportant village in the rural area, Rabbit Hero, Mirko looked at the smiling brat in front of her. I forgot that I even made an invitation to someone like you. Well, what can I say? People forget 1,000 things a day, replied Kaminari politely. Mirko frowned at that. No, I mean that you are so unimportant that I forgot your existence. Mirko-sensei, did you also forget the moment that we shared after the Hosu incident? He asked with a bashful look. This ticked off Mirko even more. Bomb. She hit him on the head. Yeah, no kid should be acting as you did. Especially not at your age. Come on now, sensei, he whined. Don't be so cruel to me. This annoyed Mirko even more as she looked at his smiling face. He wasn't at all discouraged by the situation and what she said. What annoyed Mirko even more was that a 15-year-old made her feel like an inexperienced schoolgirl back then. She will never forget that annoying incident. She thinks about it every night in annoyance and swore that the next time she met him she would bash his face in. But instead, Kaminari came to her willingly and found her instead. So, sensei, what are you going to teach me? A bunch of nothing, insisted Mirko. I am going to cancel my request. Kaminari sighed at this in disappointment. Come on now, I am trying my best here. I didn't know adults would take teasing so hard. I am not taking it too seriously, huffed Mirko. I just don't like guys like you. Well, we are not dating, argued Kaminari. Why are you bothering with something like this? I am here to learn not to be your boyfriend. Oi, I just said it. I don't like guys like you. I can already guess that you are the playboy scumbag. I see no need to teach you, she stubbornly insisted. Hey, we are not the same age. It was your fault for getting excited by a kid like me, groaned Kaminari in annoyance. He came all the way here to learn from her. He never thought that this woman would be so held up on something that he did so long ago to just play around. He didn't even do anything indecent to her. At best, it could be some light flirting. At least from his point of view, it was so. What the hell, kid? You started it. Mirko argued back. I didn't start shit, retorted Kaminari. Heh, yeah right. Mirko isn't convinced by this at all. So in the end, Kaminari smirked, sensed around for any recording devices, and when he found none, a smug look makes its way onto his face. I will tell anyone who asks that you molested me. What? Mirko is shocked by this. No way you will do something like that? No one will believe you. Heh, Kaminari's smirk widened. He now had to pull out his big guns to get what he wanted. You're sure about that? I am the guy who everyone sees as the next symbol of peace. You sound like some trash villain from a manga, yelled out Mirko, even more annoyed by him now. Never in her life has she met such a shameless young man like Kaminari. Yeah? So what? I am here to learn, and I will get what I want no matter what, he said. Even Mirko herself could admit that his eyes are resolute on this. Fuck you, kid. But she still refused to teach someone like him. Yeah, I would love that, but you won't, he retorted while smiling and looking Mirko over on her hero costume, and a leering smile made its way onto his face. Huh. Mirko is weirded out by the smile. You are thinking something perverse, ain't ya? Not just that you look nice in that hero costume of yours. Kaminari complimented her without an ounce of shame in his voice. Brat, you have balls to say something like that straight to my face? Mirko is still annoyed by him even as he says the truth. What annoyed her was that he still acted so confident, like everything up till now has gone to his plan. Hey, I have a girlfriend and I am also underage, so please be careful, said Kaminari bashfully while looking at the ground. Mirko could now see straight through his act. No way would someone like him even feel a trace of shame. TCH, I hate slimy people like you the most. Really? Hate is a strong word for this, Kaminari smirked. Wouldn't it be more correct to say that we have a love-love relationship? Nope, answered Mirko without missing a beat. Well, I love you, and you love yourself. Wouldn't that be called a love-love relationship? He reasoned. She gets more annoyed the more Kaminari talks. He can get under the skin of people like her too easily. Anyway, stop it with the useless banter, brat. I will take you as a student. Hearing her relenting, Kaminari unenthusiastically said, Yea, thank you for accepting my request. Mirko is still annoyed by him. You didn't make a request, you blackmailed brat. What kind of hero are you? An amazing one, he finished, with that smirk on his face that Mirko already knows will make her want to punch him so many times in the future. Their banter continued back and forth, and eventually, Mirko calms down and learned to see the humor in their talks. At least it wouldn't be so boring in this place anymore. That is what she thought to console herself, as she will be stuck with him for at least a whole week. She then explained the situation and why she is here. We will be chasing after a villain called Blood Rider. He had been seen distributing a certain type of quirk-enhancing drug. Kaminari then gets serious too and nods, thinking in his mind if someone like this appeared in the MHA manga that he had read in his first life. But nothing came to mind. That has created mayhem in the city, continued Mirko. But not long after that, heroes were on his trail. He then decided to move to a rural area where heroes don't usually come, mostly because there is a low amount of villain attacks here, and even then it is taken care of by the police, who have guns. Not a lot of quirks can handle a bullet, so we can assume that he is a coward. Or a smart guy who knows his limits, added Kaminari, his brows frowning as he thinks on a plan on how to handle this. He knows that there was another reason why most heroes won't come to rural areas. It was because of exposure. There will be no exposure, nor any chance for fame here in this place. Kaminari would have not come to here if he currently was after publicity, but he doesn't plan to get any more exposure for the time being. He plans to learn from Mirko, the way she moves, talks, walks, how her eyes look and how she smiles. He plans to learn not only martial arts from her, but also how to be a natural hero. He planned to do some questionable stuff from now on, so he needed to observe a hero who pretty much hides nothing and how she acts. He too plans to become a hero who hides nothing. After all, when people know someone, they will feel more relieved when they get power. Of course, he was also there to get some fighting experience from her. He wanted to know how to make the best decision in a split second. That is what fighting experience equates to most of the time. One day, there will be people who can keep us with my speed. Maybe not soon, but eventually they will. Quirks always evolve, and I have to be on top of it all. He contemplated, his thoughts going on many different areas as he speeds up his thought process. Kaminari for the next couple of days followed Mirko everywhere. She continued her investigation, but it didn't seem to be going anywhere. There were no traces of the villain Blood Rider. There were some clues that he was here, but not any recent ones. Is that bastard gone from here? Questioned Mirko, annoyed at the situation. Kaminari drowns at her reaction, while he could learn a thing or two from her. She isn't good at investing at all. She simply can't put herself in the mind of a villain. He looked at the things around him and analyzes them. He saw what was going on here, clearer than Mirko. So in the end, he decided to put his own 2 cents on this. We should look into Blood Rider's past some more. She mentioned him to go on. Well, I guess to be a hero one doesn't necessarily have to be wise. Thought Kaminari. I am talking about why would he be here? He has some ties to this place. We have been looking at abandoned warehouses, forests, and such things. We are not looking at houses or other people like a restaurant worker. Why would we look there? Villains are like fugitives, Mirko reasoned. Normally she would be right. But Kaminari didn't elaborate his thoughts anymore and points around. Let's look at the facts. He was here. That is a fact. There are also no signs of him leaving. So that is a fact also, he explained. While still keeping some things to himself, we should check with the locals, and you must call over for some documents. Mirko nodded at this, seeing that this could be worth looking into as they have got nothing else going on for their search at the moment. At the same time, the head of the small police station in the village looks at photos of Mirko and Kaminari. His eyes were more concentrated on the latter. The man's eyes turned red for a split second. This will be troublesome. This man was Blood Rider. Quirk, blood prophecy, allowed him to see someone else's future by drinking some of their blood. The Quick has no real combat advantages, and the future images are not clear. But Blood Rider has learned how to read his visions. This kid, he wasn't supposed to be here. He pointed at Kaminari's photo. Chapter 56, Forbidden Relationship? During this time, in a dark lab, in an unknown location, Dr. Kyudai looked at a green capsule with worry. The thing is just laying there, not moving at all. His silver hair floated aimlessly and his body was a perfect copy of Kaminari's, except his silver hair. Sigh, I don't get it. What is wrong with this gnome? Everything should have been perfect, mumbled the doctor, disappointed at the results. He hasn't moved even once since conception. He had done everything correctly, so he had thought that it would work. But he once more had to leave disappointed. What a shame. I had such high hopes for the new generation on Nomu. Seems like it failed. After he left the lab room, the Nomu's hand twitched and electricity crackled on it. He then opened his eyes calmly. Electricity crackled up to his elbow. Bzzzzzt, the electricity moves through the capsule and then to the computers. Master access granted. The computer's voice rang out. Creak. The capsule opened and the nude Nomu walked casually towards the main computer and the machine turned on by itself. Its emotionless dark eyes gazed into the screens of the computers as countless images played at top speed that the normal human eye wouldn't be able to even catch a glimpse of. Database has been invaded. The computer's alarm warned. Error. Error. Error while the computer was hacked seemingly with no effort. So I could use this way together with, interesting, wondered the clone out loud, who easily erased the footage of himself in the cameras. Unlike the original, he had a different view on how his quirk is used. Speaking of the original, the clone finally saw his own file and the research conducted on him. HM? So I'm a clone? And my makers want me to fight the original? He searched on what a clone was. The Nomu had been doing this ever since it was made, learning to use his quirk when the doctor was not here. Kaminari Denki. He mumbled the name of the original, rolling strangely at the tip of the tongue. He was not used to talking yet. He then searched about Denki Kaminari and saw countless videos of his original. The clone's dark abyss-like gaze just stares at the videos of Kaminari fighting different villains, all for one, during the USJ and almost every other fight.
Oh.
He looked at the screen with an unreadable look on his face. Do they want me to die? The original is dangerous. I don't see a reason to fight someone like him. That is illogical. Also, in every movie, the clone dies. The clone's nervousness became apparent on his face as he also saw reports of Kyodai's that said just how many villains Kaminari had killed. Oi, 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 don't fuck with me. This guy sounds like way too dangerous. I don't even know I could use my quirk that way. The clone knew a losing fight when he saw one. Seeing Kaminari shooting projectiles who broke the sound barrier casually didn't comfort him at all. Nah, just being a villain sounds like a death wish with a guy like that around. Fuck that. I was just born. I ain't dying. So the Kon Nomu started frying the computer circuits, starting a fire in the building. Boom, boom, boom. The computers started exploding, and the fire spread even more. The clone Nomu just casually walked away. Now I will have died in the eyes of the doctor. I can start a life buy-in for myself. Lightning flashes in his hand. I wonder how the original can use it to control that dark sand-like thing. He can also move super fast. How can he do something like that? I wonder if he can do hacking as I can. Well, I don't plan to fight him. That sounds too troublesome. The clone truly felt a fear that the villains couldn't give him. I really hope I don't meet the original. At the same time, Kaminari looked at Mirko as she gave him some documents. She looked at him. He looked at her back questionably and pointed at the papers in his hand. These are all the documents that the police department gave us, explained Mirko. He looked at the handful of pages. Immediately he determined that there were way too few of them, which immediately made it suspicious. Is he the son of someone important, and they don't want the news to spread? Like a politician who doesn't want to be known that their son is a drug dealer, that would ruin their reputation no matter how good. Speculated Kaminari. Dozens of theories ran through his mind in a split second. But in the end, he determined that he had too little information and no lead to go on. Mirko also wasn't the best investigator. She came here to fight some villain, not to figure out some mystery. She looked at Kaminari with an expectant look. So, did you figure anything out? She asked. No, we don't have clear information about him. His quirk is a huge unknown. Most information is too vague. Complained Kaminari. It wasn't as if this criminal has a powerful quirk. Usually, villains with powerful quirks are very arrogant, so he reasons that this villain's quirk is unlikely to have high combat power. In his eyes, that makes it even more troublesome. Eh? Mirko had a disappointed look on her face. Weren't you supposed to be some kind of genius? This ticked off Kaminari a little, but he didn't show it, and instead, he just smiled. Weren't you just some strong stripper? The fuck you say, brat? She immediately got up and was ready to get into a confrontation with Kaminari, who wouldn't even look at her as he read the documents. I just asked if you like beating underage kids, he said. Then he looked up from the paper and saw her ready to throw fists. He just raised a questioning eyebrow at that. Why are you looking at me so intently? Didn't you hear, woman? I am underage. Let me repeat that for you, underage. Heh, Mirko cracks her knuckles. You think you can slime your way out of this slime ball? Wah. Kaminari looked at her with a shocked look. You want to still do it even though I am underage? Stop using the underage card, yelled out Mirko, annoyed at how much Kaminari dodged situations by saying that he is underage. Ah, I knew you don't even care that I am underage, he yelled and then blushed. But since this is Japan, it technically wouldn't be illegal since I am 15 and willing. The hell you talking about, brat? And so another back and forth argument started. All along, Mirko never noticed that Kaminari had purposely changed the flow of the conversation and got away with calling her a striper. But while Kaminari was having his difficulties and contemplating if maybe he should have chosen another agency, one other Class 1A member was nervous about something. Ha ha ha, don't worry. I am sure that Sir will like you. You just need to make him laugh. Mirko laughed once he saw the nervous wreck that Izuku was. This made Izuku even more nervous. He knows that he isn't funny at all. He also knew that his social skills all equate to how to take less damage when people are bullying you. But Mirko still had a confident vibe, and he put a hand on Izuku's shoulder as they walked outside of UA. All Might had first been adamant about having Izuku train with Night Eye since the two of them still weren't on good terms, but relented once he thought about it some more and spoke with his protege. Still, Sir is very strict, so you must do your best to make him laugh before the end of the day, Mirko warned Izuku, making the one for all user yelp as even more weight was put on his shoulders. Mirko-san, you have too much faith in my social skills, Izuku cried on the inside. Sir Night Eye holds humor in high regard, and Izuku must impress him on his own without too much of Mirko's help. At least that is what Mirko said. Also, your friend, Denki Kaminari, was able to make Sir laugh within less than 10 minutes. So you should be able to do it too, exclaimed Mirko. Izuku sighed once he heard that, making Mirko look at him confused. Don't compare me to Kaminari. I don't have his social skills. Have you seen how many girls flock around him? I can't even talk to girls normally except for Azui, he explained as his confidence hit an all-time low. A depressive aura made itself known around Izuku. Mirko could sense the depression in the air. He didn't know what to say, so in the end, he awkwardly tried to encourage his junior with what came to mind first. Having a lot of girls doesn't mean that one has to be funny, right? I am ugly too. Izuku's depressive mood doubled in intensity, since he took it as he can't talk to girls not because he isn't funny, but also because he wasn't good-looking. No, that is not what I mean. Mirko tried to clarify. Looks don't matter at all. As long as you are brave and smile, even if you are not good-looking, you will be able to make it. Izuku again took a hit to his heart. Being called not good-looking to him just sounded like the polite way of saying ugly. On the other hand, as Izuku was about to arrive at Night Eye Agency, the man in charge himself was in a dark room, looking at a laptop on his desk as Bubble Girl opened the door, letting some light in, and she immediately started her report. We have had a recent report of the Villains League having a skirmish with some other unknown group. Night Eye looked at her without saying anything, and she continued. There was also a bloody corpse with only its lower body left. It has also been identified as a member of the Villains League. The corpse has been identified to belong to the villain nicknamed Magna. Night Eye hummed as he thought about this, while at the same time looking at Bubble Girl with an intense look. In the end, he came to his conclusion. You didn't make me laugh. There is no room for a society without humor. He then puts her on the tickle machine, his mind wandering to what his other disciple was doing. Kaminari was good at making jokes. He always made me laugh when he reported something, contemplated Night Eye, but even when he was laughing, no sound of laughter ever came out of him. No smirk, and he just used to look at Kaminari straight in the eye as he made his report. Not even Kaminari himself knew that he was funny to Night Eye. That is when Izuku entered Night Eye's agency and is shocked as he saw Night Eye torturing Bubble Girl with his tickle machine for not making him laugh. Ha ha dash. Bubble Girl's laughter rang through the rook as Sir Night Eye glared straight at Izuku. Izuku immediately tried to calm the mood by morphing his face to that of All Might's. Shit. Mirko is horrified by Izuku's plan. That was the worst choice. Unimpressed, Night Eye didn't laugh. Are you making fun of All Might? Izuku was terrified at this and as nervous as he could get. Night Eye got closer and started touching Midoriya's face roughly. All Might's wrinkles aren't like that at all. He then turned around and started walking off. Izuku was unsure what to do, but Mirko nudged him to follow. As Izuku followed Night Eye to his office, Mirko went to pull Bubble Girl out of the tickling machine. He did pretty well, even though he didn't make Sir laugh. Bubble Girl finally is released from her torture and immediately started complaining. Damn it. I wish Kaminari was here. Mirko looked at her weirdly. Sir is suspicious of your relationship with Kaminari, and you saying things doesn't help at all.
No.
It isn't like that. She interjected with an embarrassed look on her face. When she used to go with Kaminari on patrols, he would always have his heroic moments, and sometimes they returned late. When asked about that, she always avoided the question, which only raised suspicion about the whole thing. I know that it is not illegal for you to be with him, but it is considered immoral as a hero to do so. Mirko tried to reason with her, because Bubble Girl wasn't good at hiding things, and when questioned she didn't say anything. Even Mirko suspected that she and Kaminari had something more than it seemed going on between them.
No.
I and Kaminari didn't have a relationship like that. Why would you guys even think so? Complained Bubble Girl. Then tell us what you did with Kaminari when you returned late? Inquired Mirko, trying to get her to speak. She started blushing at that. Well, I made a promise, and this is what makes you seem suspicious. Concluded Mirko. Chapter 57. Not a hero like you. As Izuku entered Night Eye's office, the man proved to be the ultimate All Might fanboy. All Might's merchandise littered every corner of the office. Izuku noticed that some were even limited edition. He wanted some very bad, but he got his act straight and looked straight at the room's owner. Night Eye sat down on his desk and looked back at Izuku. So why did you decide on my agency? Because I want to stand out, answered Izuku truthfully. An image of Kaminari came to his mind as he thought about it. In his eyes, if there was one figure of a perfect up-and-coming hero, then it would be Kaminari. He was hero-like. He even was already quite famous for how he handled the Nomu in the USJ incident, and he even helped All Might in the All for one fight, plus everything else. The way he has stood out every time. He had outshined everyone else. I see, but I don't think that you will fit here. We work good enough as we are, said Night Eye, looking at Izuku with a hawk-like gaze which made the young man uncomfortable. It felt like he was being stared at by an apex predator. Night Eye just had that kind of vibe around him. So you can leave if you feel that you are inadequate for this place. We need someone useful, not deadweight. As Izuku heard that, he panicked and said what he was trying to do when they met. I made the face All Might following the Vinegar Riverbank incident. Night Eye is surprised at this and remembers the incident. It was a small one years ago. Relatively unknown, but of course All Might's former psychic knew about it. The hero's aura felt even more fierce as he seemed to be enraged. Were you testing me? Izuku didn't know the correct answer to this, so in the end, he just told the truth. No, sir. Night Eye just kept looking at Izuku with an unreadable expression on his face. The one for all user had no idea what the man in front of him seemed to be thinking. Is he mad? Well, he seemed so. Is he happy?
Sad?
Disappointed? Like always, Izuku was just overthinking things, his mind going on many different thoughts until the man himself said, "Show me the contract." Before he even knew what Night Eye said, Izuku's body was moving on its own, and he immediately pulled out a piece of paper from his bag. Night Eye took it and put it on the table. It was a contract by U.A that must be signed by the hero who takes them in. This way, the students aren't taken advantage of by any hero, which is unlikely to happen, but one never knew with these things. So Niza liked to be sure. Internships last about a week and only have the student as a guest in the agency. The students only take notes and are not allowed to fight unless the situation is extreme and another supervisor hero is there. Night Eye started explaining the difference between the hero work studies and the previous week-long internships. While work studies, the students are more like sidekicks. They help with hero duties, go on patrols, and can use their quirks in desperate situations. A happy smile appeared on Izuku's face once he heard that, and tears of happiness flew out of his eyes. A day later, Kaminari was in an unofficial office in the village. The room was barely furnished, with only 2 computer desks, which were both occupied, one by Kaminari and the other by a female police officer. He was through all the paperwork calmly, even if on the inside he was a little annoyed. While he had figured some things out, it felt like another difficult situation had developed. The policewoman next to him was also helping him with the paperwork. She had brown hair, was wearing glasses, and had a general nerdy appearance. If there was one word to describe her looks, it would be average. Kaminari sighed and got up, stretched a little, and smiled at the policewoman. "Well, come on now, Makino-san. I will make you some tea. We have been reading these papers for so long. Relaxing is part of work too, as one can work better when he is not tired." Makino smiled back gently too and got up. "True, I will make us some tea." "Oh, Makino-san, I don't want to bother you." Kaminari tried to dissuade her from doing it. "Come on now, Kaminari-kun," she chuckled. "Don't you like my tea?" No. Kaminari shook his hands around nervously. "It's just that I don't want to bother you." "How cute," she mulled over as she went to get the tea. Don't worry about it." She then walked out. Kaminari had a smile on his face as he saw her walk away. He then took a stack of papers and got out of the police office, the one that was temporarily being used as the investigation office by Mirko. Well, she wasn't the one using it, but it was in her name. He then entered mode, and his body was covered in electricity. His hair spiked up as it discharged electricity. Fwish! He charged towards the village. He quickly arrived at a dango shop in the village and saw Mirko just chilling there on the porch, golfing down dango while still in her hero costume. She saw Kaminari appear and inquired him, "Did you find anything?" He looked around where Mirko was standing and his mouth almost twisted in a smirk as he got an idea. His expression goes back to an unreadable one as he took out his stack of documents and put them down next to her. "I have learned a lot from this hero work-study session." Mirko was surprised at this, especially since she hadn't taught him anything, even when he blackmailed her. She wouldn't mind anymore if Kaminari spread those rumors, and has resolved to be herself no matter what. She doesn't want to be played as a fool. Even if she didn't want to get a bad media image, she won't be tied down anymore. But once Kaminari winked at her, she immediately understood that something was going on. This slimy guy is up to something. A teasing smile made its way into her face. "Really now?" Kaminari nodded, his eyes as emotionless as ever. "Yes, I have now learned what kind of hero I don't want to be." Before Mirko could say anything, he took out his contract papers and ripped them apart. He then pulled out another paper with his signature on it. It was a resignation letter. "I have decided to resign from working under the number 6 hero, Mirko." Her eyes widened at this. She was shocked by what she saw. She didn't even know what to say. He just ripped the original contract, so he must be planning to do this for real. Wait, did I interpret that wing wrong? Is this brat serious? Kaminari bowed slightly in respect. "Thank you for everything. Don't worry, I won't leak anything to the media. I never intended to. I will take my leave now." He turned around and started walking away.
Oh,
"Brat, what the hell do you think that you are doing?" asked Mirko. a frown on her face, and her body shook. Evident body language showed her annoyance. Kaminari stopped but didn't turn around as he started saying, I have understood what kind of hero you are now. You don't even have a hero agency associated with you. Tej, I am not a weakling to need one. Mirko was annoyed by this. She had already heard this from others. Yes. Kaminari finally turned around. As usual, you've mistaken isolation for independence. His face was calm as a still lake. Not even an ounce of emotion was being shown in it. We have been doing this investigation for over a day, but we have no leads. No new information has been discovered. You recklessly picked a mission for which you aren't qualified. Yes, you are a strong hero in the physical department, but that is it. You think yourself too above the normal duties of a sidekick, and yet you don't accept one that can cover your weak points because you are too arrogant. Mirko got angry, angrier than she had been in a long time. What she hates even more is the truth that he was saying, but hearing it from such a young man annoys her even more. She knew that her quirk wasn't suited for investigation-related work, neither was her mind. But she was prideful, too prideful to open an official hero agency of her own. The only reason she even accepted Kaminari as her intern and had him come all the way here was to humiliate him for what he did to her after the Hosu incident. He made her seem like an inexperienced schoolgirl. She took offense to that. She, a pro-hero, was manhandled by a 15-year-old student. Plus, Mirko easily admitted that she was a little petty sometimes, but she thought that the kid would at least learn a lesson. But instead, he had turned out like this. Ah, what a troublesome brat he is, thought Mirko, but he is right, so I should deal with problems the only I know how. Fwish. She disappeared from her place on the dango porch in a split second. Already her leg was high, getting ready to axe kick Kaminari on the head. Bomb. She kicked Kaminari, but his figure disappeared like an illusion. Afterimage? Deduced Mirko. What shocked her was his reaction time. In less than a second did she attack him, and he was still able to dodge. Her rabbit ears twitched slightly as she heard the sound of crackling electricity near her and the wind shifting. Fwish. She immediately jumped up. Her rabbit-like senses helped her escape a kick to the side. Kaminari looked up at her. His hair floating up and the yellow color in his eyes got even more pronounced. Bzzzzzt electricity was crackling around his body as he gazed at Mirko midair. Fwash. Dark wings made out of iron sand appeared on his back, and he flew towards the rabbit woman and in an instant was in front of her. Bomb. Kaminari punched her on the top of her head, and blood spewed out. Mirko was bleeding from her head, but even though the electric shock, she grabbed into his hand and used her fighting experience expertise, twisted Kaminari's arm behind his back. She laid on top of him as he plummets to the ground. Don't hold back, brat, she yelled out, frowning. I am not weak enough for some no-name brat to have to hold back against me. She had noticed that when she had jumped midair, Kaminari could have immediately shot a lightning bolt at her and ended the fight there. But he was holding back. Boom! They landed on the ground, and a cloud of dust engulfed them. Once it cleared up, Kaminari was the one on top of her, having switched positions with Mirko at the last second before they hit the ground, using his speed and ability to fly to his advantage. But Mirko still had a vicious smile on his face as she brought her hand up. Around her wrist was a dark plastic handcuff. The other handcuff was tied to Kaminari's wrist. Fuck you, brat dash bomb. Kaminari doesn't let Mirko finish as he punched her in the face. Cough blood comes out of her mouth. Patu. Mirko tried to spit the blood in his eyes, but Kaminari quickly dodged. He recognized the tactic before it even happened, as he had tried to use the same thing on Izawa. He tried to use his electricity to heat the handcuffs away. After all, while plastic doesn't conduct electricity, it still couldn't resist its heat. Fwash. Mirko took that chance to hit Kaminari with one of her deadly kicks. He easily dodged it. But at such close range, if he tried to use his electricity outside of his body, Mirko will notice and would attack him as a gap appeared in his defenses at that time. Kaminari is unable to use his auto-dodge sequence in that split second that he will try to take control of the iron sand around him. Normally he couldn't use auto-dodge while controlling his electricity outside of his body, but he had overcome that weakness. And only that split second was left, something that would be unlikely to be used against him. But it is being used by Mirko, who has him cuffed to her so he can't even escape. Still, Kaminari sat on her hips and pointed his uncuffed hand at her stomach. Stop this useless fight. I can shock your organs to shut down in an instant. He uses this as a threat, but Mirko isn't scared at all. Instead, she smiles. Come on then, brat, try me. Let's see who is faster. Can you move your electricity to your palm and shock me? Or will I be able to knee you at the back of your head? She had a confident look on her face, and for the first time in the fight, Kaminari had an uncertain look on his face. Usually, he could be confident that he could move his electricity faster. But at the same time, Mirko knew that with a quirk like his, he needed to be careful to not actually kill her. Plus, due to her quirk, she needs a higher dosage of electricity to knock her out. She could guess the difficulty that Kaminari should be having. If he uses too little, it would have no effect, too much, and it would kill her. So in the end, she decided to give him a push. What the hell is up with that look on your face? Mirko asked with a snide look. Come on now, show me your true self. I already know about it, so no use hiding it. I see, is all Kaminari said. Immediately the air felt colder. A darkness appeared deep in his eyes as they turned colder and emotionless. Mirko's smirk widens as chills flow down her spine. This was her evolved human instincts against predators. But she wasn't scared at all and can feel adrenaline rush through her. Fwish. She went to knee him on the back of his head, and Kaminari's hand also flashed with electricity. Chapter 58. Cooperation. Mirko's knee wasn't even half its way to hit Kaminari's back when his electricity shocks her. Bzzzzzt, she was knocked out instantly. It was a common misconception that when Kaminari moves his electricity through his body, it shows on the outside in the form of crackling electricity. But he had gotten rid of this weakness a long time ago, and just lets it be shown now because no one can react anyway unless they have a quirk that improves their vision tremendously, or they are close enough. The reason why he wouldn't hide this weakness of his was because he liked it when people assumed that he had that weak point, that way in a situation like right now. While Mirko was talking, he already had his electricity at the tips of his fingers without her even noticing. This was the difference in her assumption because she would have hit him instantly without talking otherwise. But she let this farce play on. He burned off his handcuff and picked up Mirko like a potato sack over his shoulder. Hiya, what a troublesome woman, he complained out loud as a droplet of blood came out of his mouth and landed on the ground. Kaminari then looked to the side and saw the woman who owns the dango shop. She is shocked and had a scared look on her face. Sorry about that, apologized Kaminari, taking out 50,000 yen, $500, and gave it to the woman, putting it in her hand. This should pay for what she ate and the damages to your yard. Again, sorry about that. I hope that you find it into your heart to forgive two reckless young people like us. She couldn't say anything as she was still in shock. The old woman just came at the end of the fight, so she saw Kaminari and Mirko in a compromising position. 1 second later, and Mirko was knocked out. What even happened here? She wondered. Was it some lover's quarrel? As Kaminari walked away from one of the electric towers on the outskirts of the village, the police chief of this village looked at him as he walked away with Mirko in his shoulder. A smile appeared on the police chief's face. Finally, my chance has appeared. Bloodrider, who was the new police chief, arrived at the scene where Mirko and Kaminari fought. He saw a lot of blood around. Mostly Mirko's, but some of the other combatant too. Oh, police chief. The old woman is surprised at this. He looked at her and smiled gently. Ah, Dataka-san, no need to worry. I am just here to take a look into the scene. I am still the police chief, so I have to make sure that you are okay and were properly compensated for the damage caused to your yard. No, there is no problem here, said the old woman. She had now calmed down and looked at the police chief with a relieved smile on her face. He has always been dependable like this, even when he was young. She remembered the man in front of her ever since he was a young kid. He was assumed to be quirkless, but he still went to the city and entered the police academy and came back recently to help keep safe the place he grew up in, even if he could have gotten a higher salary if he had worked in the city. Yeah, but I will still have to investigate and do a report. Don't worry though, you can go and relax inside. I would feel bad leaving you to wait outside like this. The man's tone was gentle as he looks at the old woman. Ah, I will leave everything to you then, Akira-san. The old woman walks back in, trusting the police chief to take care of everything. Akira, villain name, Blood Rider, couldn't keep the smile off his face, his mind going back to the past. In truth, he didn't know he had a quirk till recently, and even then, everything was going bad for him in the city. He was homeless and wasn't in the police academy at all. His parents were dead, but these people from the village he grew up in always sent him letters. He was overwhelmed by it. One day he had asked the woman that he is currently in the yard of for some money due to some difficulty in the city, saying that he would return it soon. He never intended to. But when she said okay without a second thought, it made Akira feel guilty. He was becoming a scammer. He hated himself. In the end, he didn't take any money from the old woman and tried to steal some from a guy in the city, but he was beaten by him half to death. Left in a bleeding mess in the city, the man had bruised his fists by how much he had punched Akira, and a drop of the man's blood had dropped in Akira's mouth, and by then he had multiple of his teeth broken. And that is the day everything changed. Akira could see everything. He saw the whole man's life, the ones who beat him. He knew the future of the man. Akira used his quirk to make money, as any other normal person would. But he also saw that his home village was in a difficult place. People weren't coming around here, and the old folk didn't have enough money to fix some of their old houses. That had brought Akira a goal. It was as if divine intervention had shown him where he would need to go. I will help this place no matter what. Akira shook his head, and his mind came back from its memory lane. He looked at the blood on the ground in front of him and tried to determine which one was Kaminari's and which Mirko's. His quirk was strong, but it had many conditions to activate. In a way, it was an inferior version of Nitai's quirk. But Akira had finally been able to find a small drop of blood in the dirt, and remembering the battle, he concluded that this must belong to Kaminari. He crouches down like he is looking closer, but he licked the ground with the blood on it, not minding the dirt at all since he was already used to it. Immediately his eyes turned hollow. He was now taking a look into Kaminari's future. But while he was doing that, Kaminari was flying in the sky, using binoculars to look down at the man investigating where he and Mirko fought. A smirk appeared on Kaminari's face. Caught ya, little rat. He knew that after he leaves, the real criminal would show up due to his quirk having some blood activation requirement. It didn't take long for Kaminari to speculate how Blood Rider previously escaped the heroes, even when they put traps beforehand. He already saw the future and knew what would happen. All of it, even the fight with Mirko, was a deception. He wanted to paint a certain picture. After he did, Blood Rider was already in his trap by now. The trap couldn't have been predicted because only Kaminari knew of it and will know about it. So unless Akira drank Kaminari's blood, he would already have fallen. He can no longer escape, concluded Kaminari as he dismissed his iron sand wings and started falling. Fwash. But that is when Akira comes out of his trace, looks up terrified, and dodged to the side. Boom! The ground is covered in dust at where Kaminari landed. Blood Rider got up and looked at Kaminari with terrified eyes. I am a police officer. If you assault me right now, you will be held accountable for that. Kaminari smirked. Well, I will deal with it when the time comes. Wait. I can help you. I know dash. The man was stuttering and panicked, wanting to change what he saw in the future. Fwash. Crack. Kaminari appeared in front of the man and twisted his neck at an awkward angle, breaking it in an instant. Mirko was already unconscious, so the only one who could sneak up on him or have any idea what might be going on wasn't here. From now on he can build his narrative to the events that transpired. The winner can write history as he wants it to be, concluded Kaminari before he started damaging the backyard, making it seem like a hard-fought battle went on. Future sight quirks aren't undefeatable. One can trick their users with a good plan. Hours later, after Mirko woke up, she looked around and saw that no one was around the hallways. She immediately knew that she was in the police station due to the decorum all around them. Fuck. This shit is so old style, it sucks. She heard some noise from the outside of the building that made her curious. It sounded like a crowd, but no way would be so since this was a small rural village. The police station was only for a couple of villages, so nothing big ever went on here no matter what. So she got up, and as she did so, her body felt slightly cranky. "Damn that brat," she complained. "He just hits too hard. Hasn't he heard the words to go easy on ladies?" She complained about Kaminari's generally annoying attitude all the way till she was at the front doors. She opened the entrance to the police station, and she sees that there were already cameras and news anchors around the entrance. The whole place was noisy and camera flashes were everywhere. "Flash, do you believe that the police chief's death was a necessary sacrifice?" asked a news reporter. Kaminari had a grave look on his face, but then a forced smile appeared on his face. "The man has given his life for the people in this village that he loves very much. I don't think he would want you to pull his village's conscience down. I did not know Police Chief Akira for long, but I saw his brave spirit. The villain had a body-possessing quirk, so when the police chief took his own life, he took down the villain with him." "By the way you were saying it, then were the heroes needed here?" another journalist asked. "Of course, we worked together with the police chief to figure this out as a team. We kept every detail secret since Blood Driver could have been any of us," answered Kaminari seriously, though it was a little crooked now, showing that he has difficulty holding it on. It expresses that his serious look is to hide his sadness. He was more hurt than he shows. That was what everyone got out of it. Once Mirko came out, the media's attention immediately turned towards her. The rabbit woman didn't know the situation. In her eyes, she just finished fighting Kaminari. Chapter 59, Tools. Mirko was surprised at all of this, and her first initial reaction was that the reporters are here because of her fight with Kaminari. Though in her eyes, there were too many of them just for that. "Mirko, you should return to heal. Don't push yourself too much, remember? You are still injured due to the villain." As Kaminari said that, he had a concerned look on his face and looked Mirko straight in the eyes. She understood what this means. Kaminari already took care of the villain, and he just wanted her to play along. Well, Mirko didn't exactly have a choice on the matter. Kaminari already had the painting of the situation done, and it had been molded into one that people would like to listen to. Plus in it had the fact of a brave and beloved police officer sacrificing his life. So that was something new that would gather viewers too. So the news was drinking up the story like a thirsty man in the middle of the desert. He continued to stare at Mirko, and from an angle that the cameras don't catch, he looked at her with cold eyes, warning her to not do anything reckless or he would ruin her. Even on the blistering hot day, Mirko felt a chill go down her spine. "This brat thinks he can order me like this?" Mirko clenched her fist in anger, but in the end, she decided to not say anything. Though he is a manipulative shit, he tries hiding it, but I can see that he is hurt. So the fight with the villain wasn't as easy as it seems. Plus, he is giving credit to the dead policeman, something that most heroes wouldn't do. He has a soft side to him, even with all the... She doesn't get to finish her thoughts as Kaminari grabbed her hand with a worried look on his face and shocks Mirko just enough to make her stumble. "Oh no, I told you that you should rest more," worryingly said Kaminari. Her eyes widened. She looks at Kaminari, a certain look of how much she is done with him. Yu-Fu dash, another shock to her body, and she passed out in his arms. Kaminari looked at the press and waved them away. "Sorry about this. I will have to go and take care of her now. She always pushes herself top hard." "Excuse me." And with an apologetic smile on his face, Kaminari took her away and closed the doors behind him as he went inside the police station. Behind closed doors, the news had already aired and Kaminari sat down on a couch in his office with an old-style bulky TV attached to the wall. He was drinking some green tea when finally Mirko opened her eyes again. "Amazing, you woke up so fast." As expected of a top pro hero, Kaminari complimented her casually. He didn't even bother taking his eyes off the TV and looked at the news of him. I shouldn't have twirled my hand like that to express my point. That looks dumb. I should mention in a later interview when I become famous that I was nervous." As usual, Kaminari was nitpicking at small things to improve himself. Things that most people wouldn't notice, but he wants to be the perfect hero. Someone who can make no mistakes. That is who he is. It's his little play. No one can be perfect, but he wants to see just how happy he can be in this life. This brings him happiness, especially the challenge of seeing himself on TV. Mirko narrowed her eyes as she looked at Kaminari, who in turn was looking at the TV casually. He doesn't even seem worried about Mirko, who was knocked out twice now, and even embarrassed her in their first meeting. She in the end didn't say anything. The facts were already there. She was prepared against him with her plastic handcuffs, but in the end, she lost and he even manhandled her again. It seems like I should train more, concluded Mirko. I hate losing a fight, especially against kids like him. Are you really leaving my agency? She asked once more, wanting to know if this was the truth. Kaminari nodded. Yes, and I will be honest here. Your agency is not good enough. I see. Mirko accepted his criticism. I will get some sidekicks in the future and open a real hero agency. Good for you, said Kaminari as he took a sip of tea after answering her. So, Mirko was nervous about this. She understood her mistakes. Though she used to be angry at Kaminari, she had seen that he was correct. Plus, from her perspective, the chief of police died because of her. I will send you another offer for hero work studies. Okay. He accepted absent-mindedly as if he didn't even bother with her. Kaminari's nonchalant way of talking this annoyed Mirko to no end. He was more concerned about how people are taking it about him killing a villain. People don't seem to care at all, and that made him almost smile. Right, technically in the story, the one who killed the villain was the police chief. He demonized Blood Rider as much he could. He didn't even tell anyone that the police chief was the Blood Rider. It would have been too troublesome and might have incited a backlash from the villagers as they wouldn't believe it. After all, everyone has the view of villains being these evil people, and Kaminari doesn't plan to change that. In his eyes, villains should continue to be looked upon as trash. Once you humanize a killer, it makes it personal. Better keep the villain deaths as a statistic. Contemplated Kaminari. His mind was already running at fast speeds, so it doesn't take even a second for him to contemplate what Mirko said. No need to send me an invitation, since I won't be coming to your agency anymore. Huh? Why? Asked Mirko, but she instantly realized why. They just fought after all. Plus, even she doesn't know why she would want someone like Kaminari back. They haven't even spent a week together, and she felt like him not being with her and bantering would feel strange. Well, you know. Kaminari didn't know how to put this in a way that won't make Mirko fight him again. I don't think I can learn any more from you. Mirko sighed in disappointment at that. It wasn't untrue. She truly didn't have much to teach him. Of course, Kaminari's agenda was different. I need to return soon. Overhaul will appear. I need to be there for it. Kaminari had planned to stay here a little bit more, but he didn't expect that Mirko would be in rural areas. Plans don't always go as expected. At this time, she decided to take a job like this. In the end, though, he had to relax. His mind calmed down. The soon-to-come conflict was more in his mind. He remembered the events that are about to follow and smirked. For better or for worse, I've lived my previous life making sure to not stir anything up. Being a role model. Being exemplary. I believed that to be the right thing to do, and never once questioned it. Until I died, I had already given up on taking action. I had failed to have someone I could say I trust from the bottom of my heart. I have yet to comprehend it. Kaminari contemplated on his first life before he got up and bowed slightly towards Mirko in respect. Mirko, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for everything. She smirked at that. Heh, acting so polite. Are we? Your actions speak differently from your heart. Of course, Kaminari smirked. I can control the things in my heart easily. Brat, learn to enjoy life a bit. Mirko, on the other hand, was a little worried about him. She had seen the true him. In her eyes, he was just a scared kid too afraid to face the real world. Yes, please make sure to keep your mouth shut about me, Mirko-san, Kaminari said, once more in a respectful tone, even though his words were anything but. But Mirko nodded. Sure. Also, if you ever feel strangled by this reality, come to me. I am not a kid. Kaminari raised a questioning eyebrow. Also, do I need to remind you again that I am underage? I am not a kid, whined Mirko, trying to imitate Kaminari. That is what a kid would say. Refuted Mirko, a smirk on her face. Kaminari scratched the back of his head nervously. Yeah, I guess you're right. I also need more allies to become the #1 hero. Heh, of course, brat. And I am your first. Smirked Mirko. She then flushed suddenly and repeated, I am your first. Bahaha. Kaminari couldn't help himself as he laughed. Mirko forcing herself to blush to create an embarrassing situation was funny to him. You are so bad at this. If you want to portray yourself as a weak and innocent young maiden, you need to nudge your thighs tightly together and squirm as if uncomfortable. But Kaminari taking to her like a child annoyed Mirko slightly, and she grabbed a TV remote next to her and turned it off. Oh, thanks. I wanted to turn this off too, said Kaminari. He was watching a rerun of the news on TV anyway, just admiring how he looked in there. Since this didn't seem to annoy him, it annoyed Mirko. If Kaminari had to use one word to describe Mirko, it would be overbearing. She likes to be the alpha in everything. He was the same, as he too liked to be the center of attention, and that made them both annoyed at the other, though he didn't express it as much as she did. I will allow you to be my ally, pouted Mirko. She no longer cared about the childish games that she and Kaminari usually played. So truce? She extends her hand and Kaminari clasps it in a handshake. Truce. My ally. Later on, a taxi comes to take him to U.A and Kaminari goes in it. All things had ended well with Mirko. Be glad you get an ally like me, brat. Mirko smiles. Kaminari smiles back as he drives away. As the car drives away from everyone's view, Kaminari's smile shifts off his face. His eyes turn cold. A smirk makes its way into his face. But Mirko-san, I've never once thought of you as an ally. Not you. Not my classmates, nor anyone in this world. All people are nothing but tools. It doesn't matter how it's done. It doesn't matter what needs to be sacrificed. In this world, winning is everything. As long as I win in the end, that's all that matters. Though these thoughts appeared on his mind, he couldn't help but smirk as another feeling appeared in his heart. But that doesn't mean that I didn't enjoy our time together. After all, spending time with people like you is what makes this world fun.
Chapitre 60, Chance.
At the same time, Izuku and Mirio went out on patrol for Sir Nitai's agency. They were talking about everyday things, when Mirio came into the subject of Kaminari. So, who do you think would win between me and him? Izuku wondered. Well, if you caught him by surprise then? Yeah. Mirio was curious about this and was feeling excited. Maybe you have a chance? Izuku was curious about it too. Bahaha. Mirio laughed at that. So he is that strong? Yeah, sorry about that, but no one has a chance against Kaminari, said Izuku nervously, trying to not sound rude. But even he was only able to see a slim chance of Mirio winning since Kaminari had crazy instincts. He could dodge anything, even when he can't see it, which made Bakugo's animal-like instinct seem normal. No matter what, he doubted that Mirio would be able to even land a hit normally. Kaminari is like one of those warriors in manga who can fight so good that even senses an attack before it hits. This was, of course, all Kaminari's auto-dodge sequence, but Izuku wouldn't know anything about that. A move that Kaminari secretly made to never get hit, the only weakness to that move was hypnosis or mind control quirks, those that can stop him for a second. That way he cannot dodge even if he sensed the attack. Hypothetically, another weakness would be if the attack was too fast to even dodge, but that is almost impossible due to Kaminari's speed. Anyway, Izuku, you should have more confidence in yourself, advised Mirio. Since his younger friend was the holder of One for All, he can't be anything less than absolutely confident in himself. Mirio then decided to change the subject, seeing as Izuku was not in the right state of mind to building confidence yet. So he asked about Izuku's internship experience, and the freshman explained he wasn't able to do any basic patrols for certain reasons. And it was at this moment when a white-haired, terrified little girl came towards them, with tears of hope in her eyes. But while that was happening, Kaminari finally arrived at U.A, and when he did so, immediately he went to Aizawa's office, which was as minimalist as the hero himself. It had a desk, chair, and that was it. The pro-hero looked at his student as he sat there with a smile on his face while explaining why he left his hero work studies. You just left? Questioned Aizawa. This wasn't the first time this has happened, though it was still extremely rare. And no one ever left because the hero wasn't good enough for them. Yeah, she didn't have sidekicks, and I even had to do all the paperwork for her. She might have possibly been trying to start something new with being a hero in the top 10, alone, with no psychic to help her. But that was useless. It's like saying that someone should use a horse carriage to travel. No one does that nowadays. She is using an outdated method, something that has been proven to be inefficient, explained Kaminari, and Izawa understood the gist of what he was saying. But brat, it almost feels like you are directing those insulting words at me, thought Izawa, since he too doesn't have a hero agency to help him. So yeah, the hero without an agency who definitely needs a hero agency. Kaminari stopped for a second. Definitely needs a hero agency. Okay. Izawa finally gets annoyed. Just say it straight. No need to go in a roundabout way to say it. Huh? What are you talking about? Kaminari asked, seemingly confused. There is no way I would tell a pro hero how to do their job. Even if it is pretty obvious what they should do, their next step should be logical. Oi, brat, I can still expel you. Izawa, sensei, have I ever told you about how I think that you are the best teacher in the world? Kaminari's mood changed immediately, and he started flattering his so-called favorite teacher. What an annoying brat you are, complained Izawa, sighing heavily as he covered his face with his hand. He tried to cover the smirk that had started to appear, but still, I have another job for you. Kaminari curiously smirked at this. And what might that be? At this time, Night Eye was notified about what happened when Mirio and Izuku met up with Overhaul and how the criminal also had a daughter. They had been keeping an eye on Overhaul for quite a while, as he was seen as a big criminal. Night Eye frowned at this, a nervousness settling over his heart. He felt sorry for the little girl, but they cannot afford to have an open confrontation in public, because while the villains wouldn't care about the civilian casualties, the heroes would. Izawa kept looking at Kaminari and couldn't help but feel like the kid was too confident, which was good, but he also wondered if his young student had grown arrogant now. Kaminari didn't usually express his real feelings on the outside. Izawa already knew that, and this was what made him hard to read. So, since you were able to beat number 6 hero, want to have a spar and see how much you have grown? Asked Izawa. A rare smile appeared on his face. No thank you. Kaminari shrugged at that. No way I am fighting you with that dangerous look in your eyes. He knew that fighting Izawa right now will most likely result in his loss. The teacher wouldn't ask to spar with him for no reason. The man isn't that dumb. Kaminari had no big head on the matter. He knew that Izawa with a gun could kill him. It wasn't that hard to come to that conclusion. Of course, this was all hypothetical in which the situation would have to be with Izawa catching him off guard and shooting a gun at him. But a colder-hearted Izawa with a gun could kill most people in this world, whether quirk users or otherwise, except for some special mutation quirks who gave strong bulletproof skin or something like that. But even then, Izawa would be able to defeat them. The man isn't a slouch in hand-to-hand combat either. In a fair fight, Kaminari knew that he could win against his teacher even if they now fought 100 times. Plus, he had the cloak with him. His cloak and his hero costume was easily taken off and made especially for situations like this. He could use the cloak to stop Izawa's quirk from affecting him by obscuring the man's vision of his body. These thoughts all go within Kaminari's head in a split second. His brain speed had long since gone over 100 times that a normal human would be able to think of. Already he had thought of thousands of scenarios in his mind, and Kaminari resolved that Izawa was his perfect counter. But still, he was sure that he would win in around 95% of the scenarios. It all equates to if he could pull out his cloak fast enough to cover Izawa's view, or if the man will shoot at critical injury first. That's all it comes down to. And in an ambush scenario, if Izawa ambushes, then he wins. If Kaminari does, then he wins. But once you took on the calculation at how many times Kaminari dropped his guard, yeah, the chances of Izawa winning dropped very fast. But if I learn that new move, then even against someone like Izawa, I can beat him with almost 100% certainty. Thought Kaminari as a certain move comes to mind. But if I had the same quirk as Izawa, that would be dangerous. Similar quirks might exist out there, so I must be careful. No matter the amount of power, arrogance leads to downfall. I must always assume that there are countless ways to beat me, no matter how strong I get. That way I will always be on my toes and try to improve. The next day of school, Kaminari was in his class when Ijiro came in and showed him a video. See that, cool, right? In the article, there was a video of Ijiro's first debut as a hero. He had defeated some blade-creating hero and saved everyone. Heh, that looks pretty cool, said Kaminari with a smug look on his face as he pulled out his phone and showed him his debut. I took down a famous villain called Blood Rider. Hee hee. Kaminari's fame had soared, mostly due to how people saw him as the next symbol of peace. But Ijiro looked at the post with a surprised look in his eyes. "Ah, it's too lonely being at the top," joked Kaminari as he gazed up with a proud look on his face, like an immortal with no salvation. "Oi, no way, man, I am gonna catch up in no time," yelled out Bakugo as he joined them. Ijiro smirked. "Who are you again? I didn't hear anything of your debut." "Shut up, weird hair." Bakugo was annoyed at that. "Damn it. No villain showed up, so I haven't made my debut yet." "Hey, no worries, man, I am sure that one will show up when we are in the top 10. Pfft. Ijiro tried holding in his laughter, but just couldn't do it. "Hey now, Ijiro, no need to be so harsh on Bakugo." Kaminari appeared as the voice of reason and put a hand on both of their shoulders. "It just means that when I am number 1 I will have to help him." "Damn you bastard." This annoyed Bakugo beyond the boiling point, but he suddenly stooped yelling and took a deep breath to calm himself. After that, he smirked. "Yeah, that is a lot coming from a guy who was kicked out of his hero work studies." "I wasn't kicked out, I left voluntarily." Kaminari joked. "You are 100 years too early to try and get a rise out of me, Bakugo." But Kaminari's mind was thinking other things too, like how he will deal with Overhaul. That's the end of this tale for now. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in part 4.